Hey, good people. 1 second. Sorry, I'm running a little bit late today. Was taking care of a few things. Hold on, let me get my headphones on. Looks like my sound is working, which is good. Didn't get to do any pre-check at all, unfortunately. What's good, everybody? What's up, Zenits? Good to see you. Devil's Eldest, what's up? Good to see you. Dallas, good to see you. First time chatter, welcome to the channel. I see you working on Linux. Yep. Absolutely. Linux is dope. So we're here to learn it. All good, DMC. All good. I'm running late as well. It's all good. You know, you can always catch up on them a little bit later. All right. So today we're going to be diving a little bit deeper into some Linux stuff. So we've already covered how to what Linux is, how, what the Linux kernel is, distributions, things like that. And last week we discussed how to do basic Linux commands. How do we navigate the Linux file system? How do we understand the Linux file system? How do we move around? How do we know where we are? So we'll do that every single time. Those are commands you can't get around. But today we'll be talking about managing users on a Linux machine, groups. We'll be talking about Linux permissions, which is a pretty important concept, as well as learning how to do file operations. How do we, if everything in Linux is a file, basically, it's either, if it's not a file, it is, a process. But if everything's a file, we need to learn how to move around with files. We need to know how to operate with files, as well as edit text. So we're talking about all that stuff today. So we're going to learn a little bit of Vim, if that's something you wanted to learn. Am I excited about RHEL 9? Not really. Not really. Not excited. I'm definitely not excited. I don't get excited for server releases anymore. I'm pretty much I get excited for desktop releases because I think that they're doing some pretty cool stuff desktop wise now. Big changes are kind of being made between some things, but yeah, not really. The best course to take if you're interested in cloud architecture. If you're interested in cloud architecture, the best one to take is definitely the Tuesday class, Camp Cloud, to learn a little bit about AWS, and we'll be talking about some architecture and stuff in there. But we'll actually be, so surprisingly, I think this is this 7-part series will be great for you, as well as the next part. The next part of this series is going to be like a SysOps, systems administrator piece of the course. I think that'll help you as well a bit. Is an inode a file? It's a good question. It's a good question. We're actually going to talk about inodes tonight. A party at Red Hat Tower. I'm down for some parties at Red Hat Tower. I'm completely down for that. Ansible Tower too. But that was pretty good. Sometimes you just have a good joke on deck and you got to let it fly. If you didn't get it, I'm sorry, it went over your head. If you don't know what Ansible is or Ansible Tower, it's a tech joke. It's a nerdy tech joke, but it was good. Appreciate it, Moon. This is my favorite one of all of them. I haven't found one that I liked more, but I do switch them up pretty often. First things first, let me get, I've been busy today, but it hasn't been all typing. So, obviously we got to get in and we got to do a little bit of monkey type, especially because I haven't typed on this keyboard today pretty much at all. So we'll go very, very slow. We're going to get 100% first, just so we can type fast after that. Come on. Oh, I shouldn't have said we're going to get 100% because we weren't going to ever. It was never going to happen, but I'm going slow just so we can get as high as possible. Okay. All right, 95. That wasn't very good, but let's go a little bit faster, see what we can do. Let's see if we're on. Both word and like a form of sense, personal hairline state, early set play before. Oh no, I hit the R before the. Okay, a little bit faster, just a little bit faster. All right, let's see if we can get into the mid 70s on this one, and then we can start for the day. But it's good. I'm getting better in front of you all. I'm getting less afraid to type in front of you all. But I'll get into the 80s soon while you all are watching. I get into the 80s a lot now, which feels really good every time I do it. That's not 80. Okay, but look at that consistency. Look at that accuracy. A little bit better in the 70s. That feels pretty consistent. And I said I wanted to get into the mid 70s on that one. So I'll stop there before I hurt myself. really mess up, and we'll hop into the slides and get going today because today's chill. I mean, I think what's nice about the things that we're going to learn today is, yes, you need the stuff you need to know how to navigate Linux. Like the stuff that we learned last class is of the utmost importance, but this is the cool stuff. Like this is when you're actually starting to do things and make changes and know what's going on, and you're starting to take in information a little bit more. And when you see all that text, you'll know you know what to read. You'll know what some of it does. It's really going to start to fill out our knowledge here as we're dealing with stuff on the command line. So let me grab a week 3 slides and we will get started. I'm not feeling, I'm not really feeling this. It's okay. I feel like I'm playing games, but I'm not really feeling this lo-fi. Let's see. I listen to all this music is Stream Beats by Harris Heller. Stream Beats is a service that they make all this lo-fi, hi-fi, they make all this music for you to play on your streams or your YouTube videos or whatever. But they've put out a ton of music. Like they put out a ton, so I don't know what's good or what's bad. So we'll keep switching it up. They have like albums, like specific albums with specific themes, and I'm trying to figure out which ones are the ones that I like. But yes, exclamation point slides should give you the proper slides. Let me click it to make sure. Absolutely, we're on day 3 of Waddle Foundations in Linux. Oh yes, it's Waddle because it's Linux, and what's the mascot of Linux? Penguins, and penguins waddle. Okay, there should be an exclamation. I mean, a colon here. There we go. Better. But yeah, penguins waddle, and that's what we're doing here. So today's topics: user and group management. We'll also talk about file operations. How do we deal with files since everything is a file? We'll learn how to edit text in both Nano and Vim, and then we will talk about Linux permissions. Yep, good old Tux. So let's get started, because I want to get out of here because it's Thursday. Happy Thursday. I didn't wish you all a happy Thursday. I'm sorry. But it's Thursday. It's Friday, Junior. We got one more day. And I know you want to get out of here. I don't want to take up all of your time on a beautiful Thursday. It's gorgeous here in Maryland right now. Very, very nice day. That's why, sun's out, guns out. Actually, I'm kind of burned from like Vegas, but sun's out, guns out. I didn't even think. I was like, oh, maybe I should go put on a shirt. And I was like, you know what? I want everyone to know that it's beautiful here in Maryland. It was like, I think it was like high 70s today, but it's gonna get pretty hot. It's gonna be in the 90s this weekend. I think it might be in the 90s tomorrow, actually, which kind of sucks. But we'll enjoy it. We got to take what we can get. Then it'll be in the 70s, I think, all next week. But it's still spring. I'm not ready for the summertime weather just yet. It's getting hot. It's getting hot. But at least it's nice. At least it's nice. It's not super humid yet, but it will be. Penguin ice is nice. I agree. I'm actually a bigger fan of colder weather. All right, so there are 2 types of users in Linux, okay? Users of the machine. There are normal users, regular users just like you and I. And then there's the super, you all didn't tell me that I sound funny. You all just let me talk all this time. Oh, no, never mind. It's not on. I thought this megaphone was on the whole time, but it's not. And I thought you all were not telling me something. All right, so false alarm. The button's all lit up. But maybe I will. There's the normal users, and then there's the super user or the root user. You'll hear this a lot. But the super user, 2 types of users. Pretty simple. How do you see the users on the system? Well, you can do that by looking at a file called the password file. Etsy password or Etsy passwd is what will tell you where the users are. So let's look at that. And so it's funny that we're using this because you're going to learn about the cat command today. But here's the command that we're going to run. And so what I'm going to do really quick, I'm going to show you these things as we look at the slides so that you can contextualize it. I'm actually going to log into my Linode instance just because some of you might be using your Linode instance And yeah, we'll just do it that way. Let's get logged in. Waddle May. Copy. Let me open up my terminal. And let me add my terminal to my taskbar, so it's here and ready for me in the future. I think I know my password. There we go. So I'm in. Let's do it. And actually, let's go ahead and I'll tab Windows tab. There we go. Let's move this over to desktop 1 so I can just go back and forth between them so you can see it. So let's list our users. Okay. Let's clear this out. So you're on a Linux machine. Yeah, this should work. I think Mac uses. I think on a Mac it'll be similar to right now. But cat/etc pass WD, and what it'll do is it'll give you a bunch of information like this. Devil's eldest. I agree. I realized I was in PowerShell. It made me feel weird. I have a pretty custom WSL setup on my other computers. It's not here because I want to keep this as simple as possible, but it does feel kind of weird, not gonna lie. But look, it printed out a bunch of stuff, and it's really hard to see what's on here, but let's talk about it. Yes, that's open. So these are actually all each individual lines. What color do we got? Yellow. That should work. They're all separated. Each line is a new line, and they follow a similar format. Okay. What we have here is we have the user that's over here. This right here is the user. Okay. Yeah, it's a good idea. That's a really good idea. You have the user. This is what I want you to focus on. There's going to be a lot of information that we can get from a lot of the commands. We're not going to, there will be some information that we skip for reasons that are going to come in the future, the things that we're going to learn. But the parts I want you to focus on right now is you've got the user that's right here. And so you might say, whoa, like, why are there so many users? All of these things are users. And all of them, most of them are system users, okay? So by default, Linux sets up all these different users that are able to do certain things on the system. Over here is going to be the user's home directory. So this is where their home directory is on the machine. Every user gets a directory that's their home space. And that's also the directory that you'll enter into. This home directory is the directory that you'll enter into when you log into the machine. Home directory. I really do like Oh My Posh. I like it a lot. And the last part here, you'll see it's separated by some colons here. The last part is the shell. Okay, so remember we talked about those different shells. These are the 3 parts that I want you to care about right now. There's some other information here. There's some numbers here. We will talk about that as we get a little farther tonight. We'll talk about what those things are. So this etc password file, hard to read, hard to parse, but the very first thing on the left will be the user that exists. This in the middle here, where you see the user's name again with a colon and then a file path, that is going to be the user's home directory, and then the user's login shell, which is right here. This is going to be the default shell that gets kicked off when you log in as that user. All right, so if I scroll down, so we logged into this machine as root. All right, so this is the information that pertains to us, but as you can see, there are tons of other system users. You can also see that there's a lot of these user sbin no logins. So if you have a user that does not need a login shell, that you're not expecting to log in, you don't want to give them access to the tools and features of certain shells, this is something that you can execute to be able to have something so that you don't have to give every single user a shell for login. What's up, Sanucci? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. And so this is how you see all of the users. This is, as far as I'm concerned, the only way to see the list of users that are on the machine. Maybe there's another way. This is always how I've done it. This is always how I've gone about it. I've never come across another way to do it. If there is another easier way to see or to list all of the users that are on a Linux machine, that is how you would see it from the command line. So cat etc password. We'll talk about what cat means a little bit later today. Now, you got some users on the machine. You know what users on the machine. What do you want to do if you want to add a user? Well, to add a user, we're using Ubuntu. I think this is the Ubuntu one. This is add user is the command. We talked about commands, and then the commands take in arguments. The command is add user. The argument it takes is whatever you want the user name to be. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to use some of the tools that we learned last time. Before we run add user, let's go ahead and look up how to use add user. Let's go command space add user, the add user command. And now we have a manual. Remember, don't sweat it if this is confusing, because it should be confusing. I told you that reading technical documentation is an intermediate concept, in my opinion. And so we're gonna do it as often as possible so that we can get comfortable with it over time. But it's all right. It'll take time. What is the final directory that gets shown after the home directory? That is the path to the user's login shell. Okay, so remember we talked about shells, bash or ZSH. There's all these different shells that you can use that give you different, that interpret the commands that you're putting in. It is the shell that gets executed when you log in. So when the root user logs in, the shell slash, I forgot where bash is, user sbin bash or whatever bash is. I don't know why I can't think of where bash is. That will get executed upon me logging in so that I can use bash. All right, so user add, and then add group, add a user, or add group to the system. So now you know how to add a group in a singular command, which is nice. I'm not sure why they did that. Yeah, bin bash. I knew it was bin bash. Long day. I don't know why. Sometimes you just struggle. But thank you, bin bash. That's the path to the bash login shell. Bin sh is to sh, bin zsh, or wherever you install it is fine. So gives you a synopsis here of all this stuff. But basically it's user add, okay, options, user group. I don't like, this is why I said it's intermediate. This can be confusing if this is your first time. I thought it was gonna be simpler to look at, but the user add and the add user and add group commands, it gives you a description of what they do. They're pretty self-explanatory, like a lot of other commands in Linux, which is very, very nice. Makes it pretty easy to remember, but it gives you a bunch of information. And again, just want you to know about the man page if you need to do anything special. We are going to do the basics of most commands today, and we'll add little flags in there that I deem helpful. But right now, we're just going to use the user add command. So we're going to run, the add user command. And it is important that I make the distinction. I can't keep saying user add. User add is a completely different command, but that does exist and it does work. Some systems, they both work. Some systems, they both don't work. But they are different commands, and I will show you that in a second. So I'm going to add a user. I'm going to call this user mastermind just because you can add whatever username you want. So add user space, and then the user you would like to add to the system. And boom, it says, hey, adding user mastermind. Okay. Adding new group mastermind. You might not have seen that before. Adding new group mastermind. Look at that. New user, also added a new group. Okay. Adding new user mastermind with group mastermind. Creating home directory / home mastermind. Copying files from Etsy and then it's asking me to type in a new password. I'm going to type in a password. You're not going to see it be typed in. But I'm going to type in a simple password, which is password 1. And it's going to ask me to retype it. I'm going to type it again. Password 1 with a capital P, unguessable. And then there's a bunch of things here. Changing the user information for mastermind. Go ahead and enter some values. Full name, I'm going to say Aaron B. And then room number, I'm going to put 1. I'm in the first room. Let's go. Work phone, 111. Home phone, 222. Other, 123. All the information absolutely correct. None of it could ever be wrong. And boom. All right. A lot just happened there. Okay. A whole lot just happened there. All right. Our add user command. Look at all the things that it did. It added a brand new user with the name Mastermind. It also added a new group with the name Mastermind. It's got a little 1000 over there. hold that for later. 1,000. Adding new user mastermind 1,000 with group mastermind. Creating new home directory. Copying files. New password. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Cool. New user created. How do we know a new user was created? Well, how do we know how to check our list of users? Well, the way that we check our list of users is to do the cat command on Etsy password and take a look at this right here. Take a look at it. This user was not here before. Mastermind is the newest user of the system. Then we got a little X here. Don't worry about it. Then we get a 1,000 here. 1,000, 1,000. Beautiful. Beautiful. Then look at this information. Doesn't this look familiar to you? Aaron B, comma 1, comma 111, comma 222, comma 123. Yeah, that looks familiar to me. Home mastermind, Ben Bash. All right. So what that is, in case you forgot, let's get rid of that. Clear, escape it. I can't scroll up. This is the user. Don't worry about this X. Here is actually a, we're going to talk about UIDs, user IDs and group IDs in a little bit. We'll talk about those, but these are unique IDs for users and groups here. Then we're talking about the information that we stuck in there is all in one section. Then we have the user's home directory. By default, on Linux distributions, the user's home directory will get created at /home/ the user's name. This is pretty normal. So if you're ever the root of a system and a user's on there and maybe they have some files or something that you're looking for, their home directory will be located at, generally by default, /home/ their username. This is something that can be changed. Everything basically can be changed, but that is where things go by default. And by default, the shell that I get assigned is /bin/bash. So if I log in as mastermind right now, I will enter in to a bash shell. All right, so add user. That is how we add a user. And remember, it does a bunch of stuff. There is also a user add command on some distributions. Let's do man user add, and here we go. Creates a new user or updates default new user information. Okay, so let's it's got some options as usual. By default, a group will also be created for the new user, and there's a bunch of stuff here. Let's see what happens when we use the user add command. Let's see if it seems the same. User add, I'm gonna add mastermind 1, and you generally don't want to do this, but I'm gonna do mastermind 1. Notice that we did not get any prompts for questions. We didn't get any output for what happened. We don't even know for sure if this user was created, but we can check by checking the password file. And look at that, mastermind 1 was in fact created. The numbers are now 1001 and 1001. Okay, and the home directory is home mastermind 1, and the shell is actually bin sh instead of bin bash. So these both of these commands work to add users. So there's add user and there's user add. Very confusing. As you can see, one prompts you through. You can actually build it. You can actually build users a little bit easier from a skeleton file. That's what that Etsy scale was. But also, you just can see how they're a little bit different. They both essentially do the same thing. They set up a user for you. They actually do also set up a group for you. I'll show you how to. You can know that for sure once we get into the group section. But they set up a group for you as well with the same name, and they'll set some default options. By default, these things obviously can be changed. You can modify that Etsy password file if you need to. There are other ways to modify the user as well, but those are the two commands that you have. So it's if you're thinking about when to use what, if we were doing some type of automation and we were having a script, maybe add lots of users at once, maybe we wouldn't want to use the add user command, because it prompts you for information, and that wouldn't be, that wouldn't be a good way to automate something. So user add might work best for us. There are ways to enter in all this other information in different ways. There's lots of ways to manage stuff. Just giving you some basic ways to add users to your system, and now you know they work a little bit differently. By the way, I've never heard /Etsy be called Etsy. Really? I've only ever heard people call it ETC or Etsy. The only reason I call it Etsy is because pretty much everyone before me has called it Etsy. But yeah, that definitely rolls off the tongue better than etc. Yes, it does. It does, for sure. Yeah, most people I know that call it Etsy. So, I sometimes I wonder, like, are there any regional tech? Is there any regional tech vernacular, regional tech pronunciations? Like, you go to a whole new side of the country, and now everyone, people in the Midwest say, what do they call soda? Pop? Y'all call pop? Is there anything like that where the words completely different? We got to look around. We should make a tech slang urban dictionary or something. Do you type clear on the terminal instead of Control L? No, I hit Control L. But when I'm on stream, I try to type clear so people know why the stuff went away. But yes, I'm personally a Control L person. While we're talking about it, that helps. That's another command that you all will now know. If you would like to clear the screen, let's say we ran a bunch of commands like we just did. Let's run a cat. You got some stuff here. You can clear the screen with either Control L or by typing in the command clear and hitting enter. That is a command. It's worth noting, this does not wipe things away from your screen. I don't have scroll back initiated on this, but it actually just moves. It actually basically is like it's not like hitting enter a bunch of times, but it's moving all the text upwards. So if you have your terminal set up with something called scroll back, where you can scroll up, you can actually, if you type clear, you can actually just scroll up and then the text will come back to you. And so a lot of people think clear is like blowing away what happened. Not blowing away what happened. It's just basically moving everything up so you're starting fresh from the top. But I do hit Control L because it's a little bit faster for me. I've always said etc. too. Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting. I've actually never heard anyone call it etc. When Armenian have some local, unique Armenian English programming terms. I bet I'd be interested to know some of those. Been here at Etsy in the Midwest. Yeah, there we go. This is nice. We're learning. I didn't know. Is there a reason why the user add command doesn't prompt you for information? So I don't know the history behind who created it, why they created it, but my thoughts are that a command, so you can get the add a user command to not prompt you, but you have to supply it with some additional information. I think that the user add command I'm thinking it might have been created. I don't know if it was first or set. I don't know if it was first or not, but I think the benefits of the user add command are that, again, you can do things programmatically. So now I can add a bunch of users without prompting me for input, because input messes up scripts. Like having to wait for input causes things not to be automated. But yeah, other than that, I'm assuming user add was first. I really am assuming user add was first, and then someone created add user to give people a little bit more power, a little bit more easily, but I don't know. In the Middle East, I heard people say mobile. Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that. Okay. All right. So that's how you add users. Well, how do you remove a user? Del user. Okay. So basically delete user, rip off the end of delete and smash them together. So add user is a Perl script related to interface. Okay. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense, actually. I like Perl. I like Perl a lot. Surprisingly, I actually do like Perl more than I should. I like Perl more than I should. I don't use it for anything anymore, but I do like Perl more than I should. So if you want to delete it, you want to delete a user, I'm going to del user mastermind 1. Easy peasy. And now removing user mastermind 1. Group mastermind 1 has no more members. That sucks. So now there is a group that still exists that that doesn't have any members in it, so it does not clean up that group, but it does remove the user. Again, we can confirm by catting SE password. There are easier ways to look at the SE password file. Again, things we're going to learn today. Trying to go in order. I want you all to know how tough it is sometimes to like get rid of like my muscle memory and like not do things that I would normally do, so that we can step there instead. So we'll look at this in an easier way shortly. But mastermind 1 user is gone, and I'll go ahead and I'll delete the mastermind user as well. And same thing, remove the user, but group mastermind has no more members. That is an indication that it still exists. That's important to note. And it's done. And if we do it again, there we go. No more mastermind user. Now we have landscape user as the last user. So user add or add user. To add a user, to delete a user is del user. So if you end up with a bunch of empty groups, you have to go back and manually delete them. Yes, unless there's maybe there's so I use del user. Is there a user del command? There probably is. Let's try this. Hold on. Let's first off, let's look at what it does. It's probably the same. Okay, delete user account and related files. Okay, let's actually del user. Remove user or group from the system. Okay, let's check it out. Let's make another user. Let's do a user add on mastermind 1. Okay. And then now, actually, let me show you something. Let me show you something really quick. I want you to take note of, okay. All right. Don't take a note of anything right now. I thought something was going to be different. Don't take a note of it. We did del user. Let's do a user del on mastermind 1. And, well, now I got to show you that you can see your groups like this. Huh. Okay. Yes, there's definitely group del. Why is there no, hold on. Let's do a, Size in the Mind. What's up? Been a while. Good to see you. Hold on. Let me, this is like right now, see, this is what I like about Linux. You use this stuff all the time. I want to see something really quick. How many times are you willing to arrow up to avoid? Oh, good question. So Booger Bomb, great question. How many times do you type up? The better question is, so there's a 3-way struggle in my mind, personally, every single time. How many times are you willing to type up? I would say, so okay, here's the problem. I would say 5 or 6 times is the limit. 5 or 6 times is the limit. But here's what happens. Once you've gone up 5 or 6, because you thought it was going to be there, you're committed, and you got to keep going. So if I go up, if I'm hitting up, I got to keep going. I got to go until I get there. And then maybe not. If I get to like 10, I'll control C. So I use control R a lot. I use control R a ton. But for some reason, like up versus history versus control R, like my mind just like literally just, it just picks one. It just, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It just, my body just starts to do one of them. And then I have to commit to whatever I did. And I don't know how to stop it. But it is a good question. It's something that I can't get around. So I was looking, if I do user add and I do, see, you know what? I'm going to commit to using reverse search. User add. Yeah, I'm gonna user add a new mastermind. Mastermind 2. Then I'm gonna Etsy groups. Okay, so in Etsy group, there is the mastermind name. All right, so there's a group called Mastermind 2. If I do a user, let me do a del user. Let me do a del user on Mastermind 2. Okay, It says, warning, group Mastermind 2 has no more members, indicating that it still exists. But then if I look at it again, Mastermind 2 is gone. I don't know. I assumed it would still be there. That was my assumption. That's genuinely how I thought things worked. I don't know if this is a new thing or if I learned incorrectly, but I assumed the Mastermind 2 group would still be there. I like that a lot. I like that it cleaned it up. I'm glad that's not the case. Because I thought that, I've always been extra careful to make sure groups are cleaned up as well. So maybe by default, maybe this has always been a thing, it appears that Linux will clean up a group if there are no more members in it, which is helpful. I just learned something new. After years in the industry, I just learned a brand new thing that's very nice. But also, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, we're learning how to do this. You won't spend I doubt you'll spend a lot of time adding users in groups to a system. This is not how people handle users in groups. Oh, well, yes, you need to know about users. You will add users to systems, but mostly system users. You probably won't be handling too many users that like have to log in. I doubt it. The world has just kind of changed, but you might. But it's important to know users in groups. Specifically, when we get to permissions, it's all going to make a lot of sense. Small example of local Armenian text slang. I'm ready for it. Instead of calling a carrot, we usually call it pronounce Kator. I like that. I'm gonna start calling it a Kator because I'm interested to know. So I don't like carrot. I don't like carrot at all. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of the carrot term. I don't know why. It means roof. That makes so much more sense. It's much more of a roof than it is a carrot, even though I know it's not spelled carrot like the vegetable. I know, come on, I know, guys, but it's more like a carrot, like a is that how you spell? Is carrot with an ET? Is that how you spell carrot in a diamond? Now I gotta find out. I gotta learn. We're here to learn. I'm gonna learn. Diamond, it's different. Okay, so carrot versus carrot. Okay. Hold on. A unit of weight is a carat. A carat is a mark placed below a line to indicate a proposed insertion. Okay. Hold on. So is the caret in the name used for the freestanding circumflex. All right. So we dug too deep. We didn't need to go that far. We dug way too deep, but we learned something new today. In computing, the caret is the name used familiarly of the character this, which we've been talking about, the freestanding circumflex provided on the QWERTY keyboards. Okay. All right. Who knew? Who knew? Now we know. We know. I will give $1 to the first person who's able to use that, like in an interview. I don't even know how I would use that. Oh, maybe if you've got to do some exponents or something, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna using the freestanding circumflex, I'm gonna raise 8 to the power of 6 or something. I don't know. I'm not gonna dive any deeper into into what a circumflex is because I learned too much today. That's not what I was expecting to learn today at all. So you see how a little bit of information can send you down a rabbit hole. Although I'm joking around, this is genuinely at the beginning of the boot camps. What I talked about was exploring. That's the type of exploration I'm talking about. You would be surprised at how much you learn, how much you pick up as you just explore the things that you come across. It helps a lot. Sometimes it's useless, but we're gonna find a time to make that a valuable lesson that we learned. All right, so groups in Linux. We know what users are. 2 types of users. There's the normal user and root. Only types of users you have. But then there are groups, and groups are just collections of users. Bunch of users all together. The reason why we have these groups is it's designed to make permissions and access management easier. Having groups makes it much easier to give people access to files, to folders, access to do certain actions on a system. So that's what we're going to use these groups for. How do we list the groups? There is an Etsy group file that has them all listed, and we already looked at that. So let's do that. So even though it's already up, let's just do it one more time. Cat Etsy group, and take a look. Basically, the same users. This is the group right here, and then this is the group ID. This is the unique group ID. There cannot be two groups with the same ID. But if you take a look at it, there's one that matches basically all the users in the other in the Etsy password file. And yeah, this is generally what will happen when you make a new user. Generally, it will give you a new group as well, and it'll put that user in that group. Okay, and they get unique ID numbers, and you can see they're just going up by one basically every time as you move down. They're just incrementing on top of each other. So this is how you see your groups. Much easier to read than the Etsy password file. Cat Etsy group. So, well, just know that the group information is in the Etsy/group file. Okay, so let's add a group. We can add a group with a user, but we can also just add a group that we just add a group by default. So add group or group add, and then the group name is how we're gonna add a group. So another simple command. And this is why I always tell people that I'm like, hey, spend some time learning some Linux, because it actually is, it's, you know, the commands become relatively easy to learn. I'm not gonna say it's easy, but they become relatively easy to learn because a lot of them are pretty descriptive of what they actually do. And so it, you know, to me that helps a lot. If I want to add a group, I will do group add and then the group name. So let's do group add, and I'll call this master group. All right, and then if we look at our Etsy group files, we have the master group right here, master group with the GUID, the group ID, group user ID. Yeah, that sounds right. Of 1,000. If you're gonna verbally ask someone not closely familiar with the keyboard to type in the caret symbol, I always say it looks like the roof to make sure it's more clear. Yeah, interesting. I always just look at my computer, but if I wasn't at a computer, I'd probably say roof. Or I probably wouldn't be smart enough to think on my feet to say the roof. I'd probably look into the camera if we were zooming or something and say, this, the one that looks like this. That's pretty descriptive as well. This one. And then they find it because of my amazing geometry skills. A circumflex is when you flex on people by knowing what a freestanding circumflex is. It's a what's the word? I'm losing it already. It is a when something goes inside of something else. It's a recursive acronym, the recursive statement. But yeah. Yeah. Definitely don't remember every variation. All right. Let's see. Yeah, so group add will allow you to add a group. Pretty simple. And then if you want to delete a group, you can do group del. So instead of add, group delete. And I will delete master group. And now if I look at the Etsy password file, master group is completely gone. Nowhere to be seen. Never coming back again unless we type in group add again. But groups, remember, they're made up of users. So if we would like to add a user to the group, we have to do this user mod command, okay? User mod -A-G group, then user. So now we're getting into one of the first commands where we're issuing lots of information. We're not only are we entering in two different flags, we're also entering in two different parameters as well. So user mod -A-G, then the group that you want to add them to, then the user. Let's break it down. Let's understand that command. All right. So let's first look at the user mod command. Well, makes perfect sense. User mod, it's for modifying a user account. That is what it's going to do. Pretty simple. User mod command modifies the system account files to reflect the changes that are specified on the command line. And so here is where we can see And actually this is when using the manual pages is the easiest. When you're given a command, it's easier to go in to find the information because now you know what you're looking for. So the first flag that was passed in the first option was -A, and we see that right here. And it's saying, hey, this stands for append, add the user to the supplementary groups. Use only with the -G option. So that's telling us we've got to use the -G option as well. Well, it tells us that we can only use it with the -G option. We're not sure if it has to be used with the -G yet, but it can only be used with -G. Capital G, because look at this. There is a lowercase g. Case does matter in Linux. But capital G, groups, a list of supplementary groups which the user is also a member of. Each group is separated from the next by a comma with no intervening white space. The groups are subject to the same restrictions as the group given with a -G option. And this is for group ID, the group name or number of the user's new initial login group. Very confusing. That's a lot of words. That's a lot of words right there. That can be very confusing. Again, it takes time. We'll just keep reading it. We'll keep reading it. Some of the words will start to pop out at you. They'll start to make sense. You'll look up some things and you'll wonder why they expressed this in the way that they did. But yeah, I'll use -A -- group to be edgy. That isn't actually, thank you so much, Dice in the Mind. You just brought up a good point that people should know that we have not discussed is these flags. You can either use the dash with a singular letter, or you can use the double dashes with the actual word itself. So capital G and -- groups will do the exact same thing. -A and -- append will do the same exact thing. So yes, you are being edgy. I've never seen anyone do -A -- group. Very edgy. -- append and -- group is a little less edgy because you're keeping the same consistency. So I think yours is edgier. I think that -- append and then capital G would be the most edgy. But I like it. I like it. It really you're showing us who you are. You're showing us the real you. I typed clear wrong. That's what will happen. I also don't work in ops anymore, so I don't ever need this command unless I'm elevating privileges. Exactly. This is always one of the problems. So the last time we went through and did this course, it's like I work in the DevOps space, so I'm doing a lot of stuff, but like I don't really do any nitty-gritty Linux stuff anymore. And so but I've worked in Linux for so long that like in my head I was like, no problem, we'll just go through this stuff. And every time we got to something new, I was like, man, I don't remember how to do any of this. Like, I don't remember the command for this. I don't remember what this flag does. It is true, y'all. If you don't use it, you will, in fact, lose it. And it's okay, because you got the Googles, you got your man pages, you got documentation. You can always figure it out a little bit later. We were just doing something. Oh, the -- So user mod. Actually, let's make a user first. We made a group, then we deleted it. So let's make a user and let's make a different group from that user. So let's go user add, and let's make a user called user1. Very simple. Let's group add, and let's make a group called test group. Okay. We made a user, we made a group. If we want to add this, we want to do user mod. So the modify user command -a, or you can do -- append. Your choice. I'm going to do -a. Capital G. So append to group, and then we're going to tell I'm pretty sure we'll do the group first and the user. Yes, group first, then the user. So I want to add this user to the test group, and the user that I would like to add is user1. And when we hit it, no output, nothing telling us what happened. But how do we check these things? Let's take a look at the Etsy groups file first. Let's take a look, and boom, the test group. So we have user1 as a group. We have test group as a group. But look at this. We haven't seen this with any of the other ones. User1 exists here now. So the group file, you can assume that the user the user that has the same name as the group is already in that group. But when you add a user to the group, they get appended to this list here afterwards. So you can see easily what users exist inside of a group here. And so user one is a part of the test group by running the user mod -a-g command. So user mod will allow us to modify that user and add them to a group. We can do the same thing again. We can again, that's what user add. There we go. Let's add another user, user two, and let's add user two to that group as well. And let's look at the group. Now look at this list. There's a user two group that got added when we made the user, but user one and user two are now a part of test group. So you can add as many users as you want to it. Now, let's try to remove this group. Let's see what happens if we try to delete this group while it has users in it. Group, you got to spell it right. You can't spell it wrong. Group del. I'm going to try to remove test group. Let's see if it'll let us. We can do it. No problem. So don't run these commands unless you're sure that's what you want to do, because it's not going to prompt you. It's not going to prompt you, especially if you're in the computer as root. We are the super user right now, and generally people are going to tell you not to, but since I logged into the Linode instance, it makes you root. So as a super user, I have all knowing powers. I can do whatever I want, but we'll talk about the sudo command in a second once we create some other users. All right, so that's groups, that's users, and that's groups. Perfect timing. Before we move to file operations, let's go ahead and let's take a 5-minute break. Go to the bathroom, go get some water. I'm gonna, drink a little bit of bubbly. But feel free to ask whatever questions that you might have. Let me put the timer on. Google timer. Give you a little bit of break so you can, pay attention the whole time. I have such bad attention span, so I'm always floored by you all's ability to pay attention the whole time. Most annoying thing for me, command variation for different technologies. I agree. The commands for Podman and Docker are similar but slightly different. Yes, I agree. It's very, very frustrating. Very frustrating. I was watching TikTok. Sorry, what happened? We're just taking a little break, taking a little 5-minute break for people. Just let your mind cool down. Go get something to eat. Go get some food. Go to the bathroom. But we're just chilling. Summersoft, good to see you. Good. Week 3, going well. We're getting through some stuff. We're finally learning some things. We're getting farther and farther into it. What was I gonna say? I wanted to tell you something. The current market, the current tech market is very, very interesting for all of you out there who are trying to work your way in right now. I have a friend who's been trying to get into tech for like the past 7 or 8 months, and they start off going hard, like super hard, trying to learn how to program in Python. Then they backed off of Python. They stopped for a long time because it was hard. I always tell people, don't learn alone. It's specifically for programming. Don't do it alone. When you can't get your questions answered, it's really easy to stop. But they switched over to cloud stuff, and that stuff's a little bit more concrete. You still need to, it's helpful to know Linux. It's helpful to know a bunch of different things, but the stuff is a little bit more, it's a lot less abstract. And this person really, I'm sorry if you're watching, they know who they are. They really don't know much. But it was enough. They got 3 substantial offers, three pretty substantial job offers this week. And I thought that was super interesting because I think we're reaching a point right now in the industry where there's such a need. Like there's so few people at reasonable prices who are willing to do this stuff that people will pay you a lot of money right now to know just a little bit. Just learning a little bit of information can net you a lot of money. No, yes, correct. No prior tech industry experience. They've had the jobs previous to this were all in customer service though. And he can talk well. He can speak well about what he knows. That is something that we did work on. But he doesn't know much. And so when I say substantial offers, they weren't crossing six figures yet, but like for an entry level, cloud role, for someone who doesn't know that much, making 75, 80, I think that's substantial for how much he knows. And he got more than one offer, which means there's space out there. But I'm not a beginner in the industry right now, so sometimes I feel weary giving some advice like this, but just go for it. Go for it. As you're learning, start applying places, man. Just try. I'm not making any guarantees, but like, I'm not making any guarantees for like that kind of money that soon, but like, keep moving while you're making the progress. Apply. Go see what might happen, because I was super impressed, and I'm hearing more and more stories, and I'm seeing more and more of it. Companies willing to take chances on people who know a little bit less, because people who have 2 years of experience right now are asking for the moon. Like, seriously, like when I had 2 years of experience, I was hoping for, like, please someone give me $60,000. That would be great. 60, 65. Now people with 2 years of experience want 130, 140, and it's pretty consistent across the board. Like, I need 130 out here. So I'm just go for it. I'm just saying go for it. I'm saying YOLO, keep moving, go for it. It's super exciting. I'm excited. I'm excited for the future. Also, like, it kind of needs to be more, because gas is kicking my butt. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Gas is killing me. So we need this money, because gas, for sure. If I wanted to use Linode to follow along with Camp Code classes, how can I set up VS Code to get with Golang? First off, good question. The way that you would do it, what's that? Bufanglion. I did my best. Exclamation point Linode. This is literally a whole guide on doing exactly what you want to do. It's a whole guide with copy and paste instructions. So if you do that guide and then you watch the Camp Code video where we got Go installed, you'll be good to go. That's all you have to do. It's 100% practice. It is. If you're willing to learn and you're hungry, you will get there. That is a statement I fully believe. If you're hungry, you will get there. 100% you'll get there. Took me about 7 months total. Dope. Ended up big in tech. I love it. Said he could probably get a position there when it opens up. Yeah, data center positions are a great entry level into the industry, because one, you can make more than entry level money doing data center stuff, and not a lot of people these days want to do data center stuff. And there are, if you're in a place that has data centers near you, I think it's a great place to learn. It does kind of suck if you got to really rack and stack. Servers are pretty heavy, and it can get a little annoying, but I think working in data centers are dope. Security courses, some of those, because exposing the wrong stuff to the cloud. Yeah. Nah, you're right. I just started applying, getting over imposter syndrome. Yeah, so it's real. Like, when I want you all to know that when I express, like, go do something, I understand. I understand the imposter syndrome. I understand the fears. I understand all of that. It's okay. Work through them. If now's not the time for you to apply, that's cool. I know that I'm saying it with a little bit of a lot of understanding is behind it. Just a little bit of encouragement. But the imposter syndrome is real. We will find some time to address it. But hopefully, it really did help me seeing that, like, once I got over the first real bad interview, it took one really bad interview for me to get over. I still had the imposter syndrome. I definitely still had the imposter syndrome. I never felt like I was ready at all. But I got not scared of the bad interviews because it was like, that sucked, and I feel really dumb. But as soon as I went into as soon as I got the next like callback, I forgot about I had forgot about the last interview, and so yeah, I mean it's one of those things where like it's gonna be a journey for yourself. It's gonna be a journey for you to have to figure out. Do you need projects to show your skills? No, you don't need projects to show your skills. You do need projects to discuss your skills. That is what, especially in the cloud space, especially in the DevOps, SRE, all that space, having done projects is what they're going to dive into. That's what you're going to have discussions about: what you did, how you did it, why you did it, what was tough about it. Things like that are super duper important. And I think that the projects that you do for like cloud and stuff, I think are more applicable and more contextual to what you are going to be doing in the real world than like coding projects. But yeah, I mean, you don't need to make like a GitHub with, well, you should make a GitHub, but like you don't need to have like a project portfolio to show. But having done the projects and being able to speak about those projects is absolutely very valuable. So I missed a lot of stuff, and I think I muted the Google timer, which I did. So I'll stop that. Any link for previous slides? Yes, SpeedMD. If you hit exclamation point, Linux Classroom. Exclamation point Linux Classroom will take you to the Google Classroom, and all of the slides are in there. Yeah. Yes, growth mindset, definitely a must. And again, it doesn't always have to be that, you don't have to forever be growing. It's okay to take some time and coast for a bit, but don't coast for too long. You're gonna need to get that growth mindset back to be great, but absolutely. It's less about the projects and more about how you can explain through the process. Yeah, through the thought process. Yep, that comes with experience. 100%. Taking the hits. Yes, you got to take the hits and learn lessons for interviewing. So we will spend time talking about interviewing. Interviewing is a whole different, like interviewing is a skill. Interviewing is a skill, and if you can master interviewing, the better you can master the interview or in the interviewing concepts and techniques, the less good at tech you have to be. It's all a game. It's all how much, it's a skill tree. It's a skill chart. Think about when you're making a character in a video game. Like, yeah, you can make a super well balanced character, yes, but you can also beat the game with your character who has tons of attack and no defense. But you have to play the game differently. You got to play the game way differently when that happens. Same thing if you have lots of defense and no attack and things like that. So you got to play to your strengths. And you can prop up, if you have strengths that aren't on the technical end, you absolutely can use that to prop yourself up. Same thing with technical stuff. If you're really good technically, you can use that. It's not gonna make you perfect, but you can use that as well. So you got to figure out what works best for you. And tech interviews they're rough. They're rough, and they're starting to become much more time consuming. Like companies are doing their best to make it. They're trying to make it easier on you. Like, they're trying to make it so they're not stumping you anymore and stuff, which is cool, which is great. I agree with, yes, don't try to stump me because that's weird. Like, test me on real things. Like ask me questions that are pertinent to the job that I'll be doing. But I've seen that the interviews are getting longer. They're getting much longer. They're more rounds. Yeah, there are more rounds, and I don't like that. I personally don't like that, but it is what it is. Don't ever say you're an expert in something unless you're ready. Don't say you're an expert at something. Don't, because you're probably not an expert in it. I've never done a real interview. I mean, almost 30 years in your current job, that's your biggest concern. That's fair. That is a 100% fair concern. Get out there. See, you're safe. You're safe because you have a job. I wouldn't even be concerned. To me, it's easy to interview when you're secure, when you have a job and you're not trying to survive out here. You already got something. Go for it. Apply before you need a new job. Like, get good at it. A job on Linux and wants to practice interviewing, let me know. Dope. Thank you, Devil's Eldest, reach out. Seriously, use your resources, everybody. Please use your resources. All the recruiting and hiring managers say they want Kubernetes experience and knowledge. Okay. You all are taking the DevOps anthology courses. We are going to find a way. I'm trying to figure it out now. Docker and Kubernetes is going to have to be something that we do. I'm not even joking, like once every 2 months, because we get asked about it a lot, but that is true right now, at least. Right now, everybody's like, do you got Kubernetes? You know Kubernetes? Do you know Kubernetes? And I think that right now the job's gonna be scarier, but I think right now, if you're someone with like a year or two of experience, learning Kubernetes might be the ultimate career hack for you. I really, really think it can be an ultimate career hack. Seriously. Everybody wants it. There are not a lot of people who know it. And even the people who know it don't really know it. They can use it. They don't really know it. It's personally, I feel like it's a 90% of companies who are using it don't need it, but it's okay. But it's all right. So I'm not joking. Slice in the Mind was helping a friend look for a job the other day, and they asked for something like 15 years of Kubernetes. It was like 12 years of Kubernetes experience, and they were asking for like 12 years of AWS Lambda experience. Like literally almost every technology that they put a number on, the actual technology wasn't even out yet. It genuinely wasn't out yet. And so those people always post those as jokes. I've seen it so many times, and people are serious. Like, I need 15 years of Kubernetes experience. It's like, bro, Kubernetes has been out for no time at all. So it's pretty interesting, but it's real. It's super weird. So that's why we tell people, like, ignore the stuff they put on resumes. These companies don't know what they want. Some do. There are companies that are good about it and are taking their job postings and job recs seriously. There are just as many or more companies who are not and are throwing things down on paper. So apply. Yep, it's not been around that long. All right. What's the hack? The hack is learning Kubernetes. Learning Kubernetes enough to use it and to get conversational about it. Companies are really looking for Kubernetes, and they're paying significant amounts of money for people who do know Kubernetes. And look at that, Cube Cuddle. Good to see you, Cube Control. Again, it's all about the first time you heard it. I hate saying Cube Cuddle, but that's how I heard it the first time, so I'm going to continue to say Cube Cuddle. Welcome, perfect timing. I love it. What's up, Raven? Good to see you. OpenShift is dope. I'm cool. I used to hate platforms like OpenShift. I like OpenShift. The only problem I think with that is, like, it's if you weren't familiar with these types of things before, like if you weren't familiar with how the things work separately, it's easy to get stuck into a platform and not know what to do when you get out of that platform. But I think OpenShift is cool. There are a few other platforms like OpenShift that I think are super valuable in being able to get stuff done. So I'm for it. All right, let's go to the next part and let's learn a little bit about some file operations. Okay, how do you create a new file? Everything in Linux is a file. How do you create a new file? Well, you touch it. Okay, you simply touch it. This creates a brand new normal file, not a special file, a brand new normal file. If you use touch on a command that already exists, it updates the timestamp of when it was last touched. So let's run our touch command. So I am in my home directory. The way that I know that I'm in my home directory is actually this. That's something we'll learn later as well. The tilde in Linux is a shortcut. The tilde in Linux is the shortcut for home. Okay, so no matter what user you are, if you do cd tilde, it will take you to your home directory. Where's my home directory? /root for the root user. For all other users, it's going to be /home/username. And so it's an easy way to get back to home. You can also, let me go to var log. Is there anything we go here? Let's go into apt. All right, so I'm no longer in my home directory. You can also just type in cd and nothing else. With any user, you type in cd with no arguments, and if you hit enter, it takes you right back to the user's home directory. Little helpful thing. It took me a long time to learn that. I was typing in CD tilde forever. But yeah, CD is a shortcut to take me right back to change directory back to my home folder. Another one that I learned on stream the first time we did our Linux course. Thank you so much for teaching me this, whoever taught me this at the time. CD space minus will take you right back to the directory that you were whatever directory that you were at before you moved into this directory now, it'll take you back there. So before I was in var log apt, if I do CD minus, it takes me right back to var log apt. One of the most useful commands on the planet. I use it every day. I use it almost every day. Super useful. And I went years without knowing these little things. You'll pick up tips and tricks all the time. You'll forget stuff. You'll do, it's all good. But just giving you a little bit extra information now. This is all extra. Do I use Z? Don't do this to me. What does Z do? See, yeah, command not found. I thought you don't do that. You're trying to teach me something new. Symlink varlog to devno. Good idea. That's a good idea. Old password is a virtual variable for previous directory. PWD, not old password. Old present working directory. I did not know that. What? Hold on. This is the Linux course is my favorite one. You all teach me the most here. I didn't know this. I didn't know this at all. Now I do. And every time I feel like I'm the smartest person on the planet, even though someone else taught me this, which means they're likely smarter than me. So someone else told me about push D and pop D. I'm afraid, so I don't want to mess with it. Because we tried it and it didn't work. But then we Googled it and it said it did something. I've never seen anyone use them, so I would love to know about them. Yeah. I would just scroll up and copy and paste 100%. Same thing. Push D, pop D, endures. Nope. So Pepper said push it. Yeah. I mean, it does sound safe to me. I do want to see it, but touch. If I want to make a new file, I'm in my home directory. So go to your user's home directory and simply touch, and then the name of the file. So touch, I'll call this rfile.txt. Okay, so I made a text file. How do you see what files exist? ls, that doesn't really tell us much. We want to be able to see the timestamp. So I'm gonna do ls-l and take a look at that. We talked about this before, and I'll give you a little precursor because this is what we're learning tonight. Over here, this section here, these are Linux permissions. All right, Linux permissions. Then you'll have two usernames. The first one will be the user that owns the file. User, owner. Then the second one is going to be the group that owns the file. So group owner. Nice. Then we get the size of the file right here. So file size. Then we get the date that it was last modified. Last modified. And then we get the name of the file. So this is what happens when you do a long listing. Okay? You get the user, you get the permissions on the left, then the user that owns the file, then the group that owns the file, then the file size. So touch, it's important to know that touch creates an empty file. An empty file has 0 bytes in it. So that's why the 0 is there. 0 bytes. Oh, no. I'm not writing with a mouse. I'm writing with a Wacom tablet. Every time. A Wacom tablet that I'm still struggling to learn. So I'm getting better with it. But I'm still learning how to do it because it is kind of weird. But yeah, then the data was last modified and then the file name. So that's all the information you get from a long listing. So all that text is actually pretty helpful. So let me take a screenshot of this so that we can save that. Go ahead and that didn't work the way I thought it was going to work at all, but okay. Cool. So that's what you get when you do a long listing. You get all of that information. So it can be really, really helpful. But we created a new file, a brand new empty file using the touch command called ourfile.txt. If we touch that file again, it should now be, let's check the time. It is now at minute 18. It's now 12:18 UTC. Don't worry about that. We're not on my local computer. We're on a server. Servers usually use UTC time. But if we touch it again and we do another ls-l, notice how the time that it was last modified now gets updated. So when might you want to use touch on a file that already exists? Maybe you are doing some type of automation and you're iterating through different files to, I don't know, to pull information for things that haven't been updated or something. I don't know. Maybe if there were no changes to a certain file or there were no modifications and that file didn't get updated, it might throw some things off with the time that you're using in your script to fix things. And so maybe you want to update everything to a recent timestamp, or maybe you want to only update things that were not modified or something like that. I don't know. It's weird. In my head, I thought I had a really good example, and then it ended up not being as good as I wanted it to be. But yeah, it allows you to update that. Stat will be helpful to show these two. Yep. So stat, our file.txt gives you some extra information as well about what's going on, when it was accessed, and all kinds of stuff like that. Stat is a good command for sure. So touch, that's how we make an empty file. How do we see what is in the file? Okay, so we have a file. How do we see what's in it? Cat is the stands for concatenate. So if you've been learning programming, you probably know of this word. But concatenation is the act of adding strings together end to end. String being words or phrases. So the text that's in a document, what it does is it takes all the text and it prints it out to standard output. You will hear this a lot in Linux. Standard output. What is standard output? Standard output is actually, it's the console in Linux. It is the screen that you're looking at. It's the black box here. This is the console. It's going to spit it out here. So cat concatenates all the text that's in a file and sends it to standard out. So it doesn't rip it out of the file and now it's no longer in the file. It just takes the information and it displays it right here. And so we did that before with some other files, but I'm going to do it with, you saw me doing it with Etsy password and Etsy group. So let me go into Etsy and I'll do an ls-l so you can see that there's a group file in here. And I probably should just grep for this, but you can see there's this Etsy group file. And so we can see all the information here, who owns it, root, the data was last touched. And now, to see the information that is inside of this file, we can concatenate that information out to standard output, which is the screen. And there we go. This will, that'll spit out all of the information. So if we are in our home directory and we try to cat the file that we just created, it works. That command runs successfully, but it doesn't give us any information because it's an empty file. Touch creates an empty file. Excellent. So yes, cat spits it out to, it took a long time for me to know what cat meant. And I wouldn't have known the first time because I hadn't learned how to program yet, and I had never heard the term concatenate, and it wouldn't have made any sense to me. But just know that's why it's called cat, because it's short for concatenate, which I think is a bad abbreviation, to be honest. But hey, maybe they should have called it concat. Maybe concat does something else. But yeah, cat spits it out to the console. So that's an easy way to check what's in a file. It's not the only way though. There are other ways to easily check. This is what I was talking about with this Etsy password file. Let's check other ways. So it's taking the files and putting them on the screen. Yes. Yep. So you're not, so there are other ways to you can we're gonna learn how to edit files a little bit later. So you can open up a file to edit, but we're not doing that. It's just taking the file and it's just spitting it out to the screen, basically. The text that's in the file and just spitting it out. Install BAT on your local machines, at least. It's much better than cat. I'll try that. I will try that. All right, so there's a few other commands. Ooh, is that syntax highlighting? That's great. That's actually super helpful. Other important thing about cat in terms of concatenation is you can give it multiple file arguments to concatenate them in the order that you provide. Yes, that is very, very true. Because the act of concatenation is adding strings together end to end. Being able to do this with multiple files is helpful, and so you can do that with multiple files, and you can have it actually create other files, or you can have it create strings that you use as variables or whatever. You can create new things using the cat command as well. So you can also look at what's in a file by using the more command. All right, so let's do that with our Etsy group file. Let's do more. So more. Let's actually look at the more command in the man page first. Man more. File perusal filter for CRT viewing. Look at that. This is a command that helps us peruse a file. All right, helps us peruse, move through it for CRT viewing. I'm assuming CRT viewing means a CRT monitor, which is old school, but you know, it is what it is. So let's do more /Etsy/group. And it appears, if this is the first time you did it, it kind of appears that it catted out the information to the screen, but it did not. Notice down here it says 30, it says more, it says 32%. Here, you can use your arrow keys, or there's other keys to use. There we go. D spacebar. So I think it goes down one page at a time. So I think if you do spacebar, it shows you something. If you hit spacebar, it does a page down basically, and so it drops it down. It drops it down a little farther. Oh, enter goes. Oh, nice. Enter goes just a little bit. Enter goes line by line. So yeah, enter will go line by line, and spacebar will page down. So and then once it gets to the bottom, it will exit. Thank you. Space enter. I don't use more. You all will find out in 2 seconds why I don't use more. So that's helpful to know. Enter, spacebar. I'll try to remember that, but I won't. I'll forget this next time for sure. All right, so more is one way you can quickly look at the file, okay? And less, exactly. So more gives you a scrolling interface to view a file on a CRT monitor, apparently. It's not even a scrolling interface, it's a perusal interface. You want to peruse it. And so the other option we have is less, which is weird. You would think that less is it would be less than more, but less is actually greater than more. So it's a scrolling interface to view the file plus more navigation options. And at the simplest form, it's got more options for getting around the file and finding what you need. Less is better than more. It's better. So let's less. And let's take a look at it. The opposite of more is the name. That's interesting, but it's similar to more, but it has many more features. It really does have many more features. But yeah, less does not have to read the entire input file before starting. So for larger files, it's faster. So yeah, there's I don't know any reasons why you would use more. I always use less, but less/Etsy group. And so what's nice about less, this is something we're going to learn a little bit later. You can use the arrow keys to move up and down. You can also use J and K to go up and down. So J goes down, K goes up. That will come up again tonight. But you can also do things like this. You can also, actually, can you do line numbers here? Can I do like line 5? Did that work? I don't think that worked. Just wondering. But you can search for things pretty easily. I can do a slash, and let's say I knew the word floppy was in here somewhere, but I didn't know where it was. I can type in floppy and hit enter, and it will highlight it for me. And if there are more places, I can hit the N key and I can look for more. Okay, so yeah, it's basically a little VI type thing. You should be using should be Shift G. Well, Shift G takes me to the bottom, right? Yeah, Shift G takes me to the bottom. :1 should take me to the top. No. Yeah, I don't know how to go to a line number, but that's fine. That's not. I mean, I can't even see the line number, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it gives you much more navigation options. It gives you much more options for the things that you want it to do. Oh, G takes you to the very top, capital G to the bottom, G to the top. Oh, you know what? I knew that. I definitely knew that. There we go. Cool. So just another interface for being able to look at a file. Again, this is nicer because I can interact with the file. When I do cat, it just spits the information out and I can start putting in more commands afterwards, but it just spits the information out. I can't do anything with that information. Less is very nice because it allows you to do, you know, whatever, you know, to actually interact with the file. Enter a number. Let's do 20G. Oh, opposite. So not the colon line numbers. Cool. Now I know. That's helpful. It's actually not that helpful to me because I don't know the line number. But yeah, that's helpful. All right. There we go. So that is less. So there's more and there's less. Two other ways to look at it. There are some easier options as well. How else do we look at what's in a file? And again, there's so many different file operations because everything is a file. You're going to be working, what you're going to be doing all the time is working with files. And so there's got to be a number of ways to access them and get information. Oh, how'd you get out of that? That's a good question. Q. Hit the letter Q. I'm sorry about that. Hit the letter Q to get out. Is there any other way out? Can I do oh, well, yeah, just Q just works. Yep, just Q. We'll get you out of there. All right, so head and tail. So these will allow you to, so head will allow you to see the top 10 lines of a file, to easily just see the top 10 lines of a file. It'll basically cat out the top 10 lines of a file, or you can tell it how many lines. Maybe I want to see the top 20 lines. I can pass in a flag and tell it exactly how many lines I would like to see from the top. Tail does the exact opposite. It shows me the last 10 lines or last n lines, however many I want to see. So if I want to see what's at the top of the Etsy password file, which I really wouldn't really want to see, not gonna lie to you, or the Etsy group file. Notice how instead of catting out the whole thing, it just shows me the top 10. If I wanted to see just the top 5, I can do head-5, and it will only show me the top 5 things. All right, so the exact opposite of head is tail. So our tail, Etsy group. And this is nice because this is easy to show. Like if I wanted to see if my user was created, you know, I don't want to see I don't want the whole thing to get displayed to the page. I just want to check the end of the file to see if that user is there. And so tail will do that, and tail works the same way as well. If I want to just tail the last 2, I can tail the last 2. If I want to tail the last 20, I can tail the last 20 very easily. So another quick way to find out what information is inside of a file. So head and tails. So touch creates a new file. Cat concatenates the information in a file, the text that's in a file, and spits it out to the console. More allows us to get a scrollable view of the file that I guess only goes down. Less allows us to have that similar scrolling interface, but it gives us a lot of options for navigating and interacting with the file. Head basically cats out the information, the top 10 items that are in a file, the top 10 lines of a file, or the top n lines if we specify a number. And then tail is going to show the last 10. And yes, the most popular use of tail is definitely the -F option. So you can actually, what's nice about tail, and why people use it a lot is for log files in Linux. So all the things that happen in Linux, whenever you have programs running and stuff, they usually log information to a log file. A log file is just a text file that information gets tagged into. So I can do something like tail -F. -F keeps a file open for reading. Okay, so it basically opens up the file for reading, and as new things are input in real time, it will spit it out to the screen. So let's see what logs we have. We got messages. What's in var log? Var log, syslog. So here are a bunch of logs and things that are happening. Now, I'm not really doing anything on the system, so it's not spitting anything out. But let's say a bunch of users were accessing my system and I wanted to watch, who was accessing, who was doing what. I could tail-F and it holds it open for me. And as new things are pushed into the to the log file, it will continue to update on my screen. And so it's a good way to watch for changes in a file to see what's happening. -F is definitely something that you would use. No idea you can dash a number. I've always used head -N20. Oh, yeah. I that's funny because someone else told me that and I was like, oh, like I've always just used the number. I don't know where I learned that from. I think I watched somebody do it. But yeah. All right. Couple more things till we get to the fun stuff. Yeah, troubleshooting web servers. We'll do some web server stuff here. We're also doing a web server lab next Tuesday. I mean, so the Tuesday that's coming up, we're doing a web server lab. If you want to come through, it does help for troubleshooting web servers. When using the head or tail command, do you type the name of the file afterwards? Yes. So that's the argument that it takes. So head or tail space. The name of the file. So you actually don't need the -20. By default, it does 10. So tail, and you're telling it to, hey, show me the end of a file, but you also need to specify what the file that you would like to tail is. And that's what I did here. Same thing with head. Good question. All right, so copying files. That's something that you might need to do. You'll copy files a lot. Sometimes they just need to be copied to a different location because they're going to be used in a different location. Sometimes you might want to copy a file because you want to make a backup of it. Yeah, so you're going to need to copy a file. The way that you do it is you copy it from a source to a destination. Okay, so copy the file that you want to copy and where you want to copy it to. So let's go ahead and let's copy a file. I'm going to make a directory real quick in my home directory. I'm going to say mkdir red directory, and I'm going to make a blue directory. So you're learning something new right now. The make directory command, mkdir, can take more than one argument. It will do everything after the make dir command. It will make every single one of those directories. So if I put 10 different directories here, it would make all of those directories right where you are now. So I'm going to do mkdir, red directory, and blue directory. And I'm going to hit enter. And notice, just like that, I have blue directory that's created here and red directory. Yes, that is a faster way to do it. There are tons of ways. You can also use that same nomenclature to do some pretty fancy stuff. That's a fancy way. So like this. So let's do green and yellow. I don't know why I chose those. Dash directory. So what Slice in the Mind threw out there is there are fancy ways in Linux. Look at this. This is a fancy way for us to create. This will actually create two directories. It'll pull this apart and it will create a green and a yellow directory. Oh yes, the space might cause an issue. Good catch. Great catch, because it was going to cause an issue. It would have been a big issue, but when I tried to see the directory, it was going to be a little bit weird. But look at that. It created both yellow and green. Again, there's so many cool ways to do different stuff in Linux. And you can see as you start to learn fancy ways of doing things like this, it can save you a lot of time, and a lot of energy while you're doing stuff. The better you can get around and do the things that you need helps a lot. So the copy command. I'm going to put a file. I'm going to go into the blue directory. Okay. Actually, I'm going to stay right here. I'm going to make an empty file in the blue directory. Okay. So I'm going to touch. So I don't need to move to the blue directory to do this. Remember, I'm in my home directory. I can make a file or directory wherever I want as long as I know the file path to where I want it to be. So I'm going to touch a file in the blue directory. So touch blue directory, and I'm going to call this file-2-copy. All right, so it's going to be a file to copy.txt. And I made a file. I can confirm it's there by doing an ls-l on the blue directory. So I want to list the contents of the blue directory. That's where my file should be. And when I do it, look at that, it's empty, but file to copy.txt is there. If I would like to copy this somewhere else, the way that I do it, first let me show you that there's nothing in the red directory. If I ls the red directory, there's nothing there. Total 0. Well, that's not, don't worry about the total 0. There's no files that are listed here. To copy it, you copy your source file. My source file is in the blue directory, file to copy.txt. So this is the file that I would like to move to somewhere else. Okay. The place that I want to move it to is the red directory. This is often very confusing for people. You will look up the syntax 10 times. You will fight with the syntax 10 times. You're going to copy. When you do copy, you have to tell it what file you're going to copy. So you're going to copy a file, and you're going to copy it to a new directory. And so you're going to specify that directory. And so I'm going to hit enter. And as long as it doesn't give me some visible errors, I can assume it worked well, but I can go ahead now and look inside of the red directory. So I'm going to list the contents of the red directory. So I'm going to ls. You don't need the -l if that's still confusing for you. ls red directory. And now we can see that this file is now also in the red directory. If we do an ls on the blue directory, it's also in the blue directory. It's in both places. Why? Because copy copies. It makes a copy. It does not delete the old one. It makes a copy. Now, you can also rename a file while you are copying it. So I could take that same file. I can say copy from the blue directory. So I'm going to copy blue directory, file.txt. I'm going to copy it to the green directory, but I'm going to rename it. I'm going to rename the file. So I'm going to say, go ahead and put it in the green directory. But if I, if I give a folder, that's the destination. So if I'm copying to a destination, if I give the folder name, that's the destination. But if I also if I end it with a file name, that is what will, that is what it'll get set as. So if I do green directory and I do renamed copy.txt, now the thing in the green directory will be renamed copy.txt. It's the same file. Maybe I should do this. Maybe to prove it to you, I'm going to, in the blue directory, I'm going to echo, this is a cool file. Ignore what I'm doing right now. We'll talk about this another day this week, or I think next week, actually. We'll talk about this. In the blue directory, I put some text in a file, okay? I did it in a fancy way that you don't know yet. I'm going to, just to make this easy, I'm going to go into the blue directory. This file's here. We just learned how we check what information is in a file. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cat it out to the command line. So you can see that inside of this file, there is now, there's this information. This is a cool file. And if we do an ls-l, we can actually see that the size is no longer 0 bytes. It's now 20 bytes, which is helpful. So it is taking up space. There is information in that file. Cool. Now, I'm gonna go back one. If I wanna copy this file, let's do it again. I'm gonna copy blue directory file to copy.txt. I'm gonna copy it to the green directory, and I'm going to call it file with -text.txt. And now if I ls-l the green directory, I can see that there is a file with text.txt here with 20 bytes in it. Okay, and if we cat it, it says this is a cool file. So you can see that it's actually taking the file that we use as our source and it's copying it to a new destination. Okay, so CP is the copy command. You tell it what file you want to copy, and then you give it the folder of the destination you would like it to copy to. So that is how you use the copy command. The other command is move. So we said the copy keeps a copy in the source destination or in the source, but move, on the other hand, moves the file to the new location. Okay, so it's the same syntax. Instead of copying, we're going to use MV for move, but source then destination. But remember, we're moving it, so it will no longer exist in the original location. It will no longer exist in the source location. That's the difference. It moves it. It'll only be in the new location. You also use the move command to rename files. This is how you rename files, okay? There's no rename command. The way that you rename a file in Linux is with the move command. So let's go ahead and see how this works. I'm gonna make a file actually, before I show you move, I want to show you one more thing with the copy command. You can also copy directories, okay? And so I think the green directory has some stuff in it. All right, so I'm going to copy the green directory into the yellow directory. So copy green directory as the source, yellow directory as the destination. And when I do it, it says -R not specified, omitting directory, green directory. You will run into this error at other times in your career. You can use the copy command on these things, but you have to add in this -R flag. The -R flag stands for recursive. This means go into the folder and also issue copies on all of the files there. And if there are any folders, move into those as well and issue the copy command to those as well. So if you are copying a directory that has things in it, you can do so, but you must specify the -R flag for recursive copying. And when I do this, now it copies just fine. So if I look at the yellow directory, we should see the green directory inside of it. There we go. And if we look into the green directory, if we do an ls on yellow directory / green directory, we should see those files that were inside of the green directory. And they are right there. So you can, in fact, copy a directory in Linux, but you've got to use that -R flag to do so. Now, move. If we want to move a file, let's say, what's in the red directory right now? Let's move red directory file.txt. We're going to move it to the directory that we're in right now. And the way that we specify the directory that we're in right now is with a dot. So I'm going to say move red directory file to copy.txt, take that file and move it to where we currently are, move it to our present working directory. And when I hit enter and I do an ls-l, check that out. We have file to copy right here. But if we check the red directory, nothing is there anymore, okay? It's no longer there because the move command is what allows us to rename a file. So let's take that file that we just copied here, file to copy.txt, let's rename it. Let's rename it by doing the source. So we're gonna take this file and we're gonna move it. We're gonna move it to right here, but we're gonna give it a new name and we're gonna say renamed file.txt. And if we do another ls, there's no more file to copy. There's only renamed file.txt because the move is used to also rename. So copy, copies from a source to a destination, keeps a copy at both at the source. Move moves a file from source to destination. It gets removed from the source. It only exists in the destination. Can I copy just the files in a directory to another? Yes. Naraku, yes. That's a great question. This can be a little tougher. And this actually is something that an issue you will run into. So let's say we wanted to move everything that's in the I think red directory doesn't have anything in it anymore. Red directory doesn't have anything. I think yellow directory does. Yellow directory does, what has more? LL blue, what's blue got in it? Okay, green has 2 files. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna move stuff from the green directory into the red directory. The way that we can do that is we can copy the green directory. If you want to copy all of the files, the way that you copy all the files is green directory star. So if you do green directory star, star is what's called a wildcard character, and it matches every file name basically. So we do green directory star, and we copy it into the red directory. So we saw red directory didn't have anything in it, and now if we do an ls-l on the red directory, it now has those 2 files in it. So you can do the files individually. So after the slash, if I put the file name, I can do it individually. But if you want to match them all, you use the star command. Let's say you had a file where, if you're just trying to, let's say you were just trying to copy all of the, like maybe there was like, I don't know, maybe there were a bunch of PDFs in here and you only want to copy the PDFs. You could do star.pdf, and it would only copy the files that matched any file name .pdf, which is super nice. But that is how you can copy all of the files. You do /star, all of the things that are in this file into this directory. That was a great question. Really, really good question. All right, moving a little bit faster because I want to get to the Vim stuff. Grep. Yeah, let's talk about grep really quick. Very, very important. Locate. How do I find stuff? Like, how do I locate text? How do I locate files? How do I figure out where things are? Grep. Grep is the Control F for Linux. So on Windows, on Mac, you hit Command F. Linux, Control F if you're on a web page. And it's a string pattern matcher. So it's a way for you to find text on a page, to find patterns of text on a page, which is really nice. So you saw me use this already. Grep is going to be difficult for you to use up front. It's going to take you a while to get a handle on grep. It's super useful, but it will take you a while to get a handle on it. You will see people do something like I did. I did this and out of habit, but I'm gonna do it right in a second. So don't everyone jump down my throat. I did this earlier. I made a user, summon a cat Etsy group really quick, and see what's in here. Let's say I want to know if the message bus user is here. I did something like this. I did cat Etsy group, and then I did something called a pipe. We're going to talk about pipes next time. And I did grep, and I think, what did I say, message bus? I did something like this, and notice how it came back with a line, with the whole message bus line. It is a string pattern matcher. It will find these things. You don't have to do it this way. This is an old school way of doing things, and people did it, and I learned from them, and I have bad habits because of it. You don't need to do this. This is actually an extra step. So basically what I'm doing is I'm actually catting out all the information to standard output, but then I'm kind of redirecting it, and I'm passing the output from this information into the input to this information, and it's looking through all the catted stuff, and it's finding the option. You actually don't need to do that. Grep is a tool that's going to search for you, and so I can search inside of a specific place, inside of a specific file. So I can search in Etsy group for the string message bus. Whoops, other way around. I can search for the string message bus. I can search for the string message bus in the file Etsy group, and it will find it. This is the right way to do it. You can see I did it wrong, and I didn't even know the order because I still have terrible muscle memory and do it the way that I don't need to do it. But so grep, it's a string pattern matcher. It's a finder. You can also do you can search whole directories. You don't just need to search that. I could do /Etsy. I can do the whole thing. I can do in/Etsy. I can look through. Now it says so it finds some stuff here, but it's giving me a bunch of errors or a bunch of output. It's actually finding a number of items. It's finding a number of items, but it's saying grep blank blank blah 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 is a directory. This is because you cannot search. You can't string search in a directory. You have to string search within a file. So basically, every time it hits a directory, it's saying I can't search for things, but it doesn't break the program. It just keeps moving and it tries to do this. You can search recursively through a directory, and it'll go. If I wanted to search each of those directories, I can give it a recursive option, grep-r, and it will recursively search through every single one of those folders and give me back every instance of when it finds something. So in the Etsy group file, it found this one. In the Etsy group minus file, it found this one. In the gshadow file, it found this. gshadow file minus, it found this. The Etsy init.dd bus, it found this. So these are all of the places that it found references to the string that I was searching for. -p, yeah. Just a small disclaimer about the wildcard copy source. Oh yeah. It does not include files that start with a dot, hidden files, which is true for all wildcard operations in Linux, not just copy. Unknown. I don't think I knew that. I feel like I'm sure I've run into that before. I don't think I knew that. I really don't think I knew that. And I don't know how I would have not run into this problem, that problem before. Wildcard does not match hidden files. Is there an easy way to match hidden files? I didn't know that. Look at that, man. Sheesh, I'm learning a lot tonight. Y'all are making me so smart. I'm telling you, by the 10th or 12th time we do this Linux course, man, y'all are gonna know Mastermind, the real Mastermind with the blue head from that movie. I forgot which movie Mastermind is in. Is that his name? Megamind. I'll have a Megamind head. So smart. Can't keep it all in. That's good to know. Message us password is star. Haha. Yeah, I mean, basically it is. Cool. So yeah, grep allows you to find patterns. It's helpful. This is surprisingly helpful. Let's say you are working inside of a coding repo. You have a repo of code, and you're searching for a place in the code where a certain line or a certain function is, but you don't know exactly what file it's in. This allows you to find it. Maybe you're looking for a setting inside of a configuration file, and you're not sure where it is. Grep allows you to do that super duper easily. It's if you want to find out some information somewhere in a file, you can use grep to do so, and it's pretty dope. You can also use regular expression patterns with grep, but we'll talk about regex later. But there's a lot of cool ways to kind of be specific about the patterns that you're looking for. I want you to know about it. I don't need you to be good at grep just yet. But it's a string pattern matcher. Find is how you find files and directories. So grep is how you find text in files, but find is how you actually find files and directories on your system. So if you're like, oh, maybe you're going through a tutorial and it's like, there should be a config.ini file that you should be modifying. And you're like, bro, I don't see that file. I don't know where that file is. You can use the find command to do so. So search for files in a directory hierarchy. So you can search the computer globally if you want to start at /, but that might take a long time. But you can specify directories to search inside of to make things faster. And to make things easier. And there are actually a surprising amount of options for this. But let's go ahead and let's do a find. So out of all of the things, find is like super helpful, super beneficial. Out of all of the like core Linux commands, this is one that I just don't use well. I do not find files well. I always got to go look up fancy find commands. Like, it's not something that I like. A lot of the core Linux commands, I know most of the flags, and I can do fancy, linking of tools to kind of get what I need done. Find is something that I'm bad at. I don't know why I'm bad at it. I'm bad at it though. So let's do find. Let's say we wanted to find our what's in red directory? File with text. So I'm gonna go back to I'm gonna go all the way back to slash. I'm gonna go all the way back to the root of the machine. And I'm gonna do a find. And I think -F is for files. Let me know. And I'm gonna look for file with text .txt. File with text.txt. Type. Thank you. Find, and then the directory I want to find it in. Yes, there we go. Find. The directory I want to find it in is going to be. I want it to be in /root because that's my user's home directory. So the directory I want, which also is tilde, and that's what Slice in the Mind is pointing out. But I'm going to be explicit here so you know where I'm trying to do it, and you know that tilde is not just like a weird part of the command. And dash type. I struggle with this. I have to look up find commands every time. -F and -name. So I give it the place I want it to search. Okay, the folder or directory I want it to search through. The type that it is. So type -F is going to be a file that it's searching for. -D is going to be a directory that it's searching for. And the name. I could use what is this? Oh, I can use. Lost my train of thought. I got a bunch of messages. I got a bunch of like alerts on my main computer. But I can use wildcards here as well to find multiple things. I'll show you that in a second. But if I do this, dash to type. What did it not like? This unknown precedes F. No -F. Type just F. No -F. Just F. Dash on type. There we go. Syntax matters, everybody. Syntax matters. So look at this. It found every instance of file with text that we put inside of those directories. All of these things are here, and it finds them. It finds them pretty quickly. Everything in Linux is a file, so like there can also often be times where directories have an absurd number of files, and it can take a long time for it to iterate through. But find is so important. That's why I'm surprised. Like I'm just so bad at the command. But I get through it. I get through it every time. I Google it. I will next time. I will completely forget the syntax of it again, and I'll look it up again, or I'll have someone tell me, particularly Slice in the Mind. But yeah, you can also do some cool stuff. You know what? I'm gonna take this root type name. This is gonna be all of the .txt's. Yeah, so not only did we find this command that Slice in the Mind gave us, it was a find on the same directory, but notice how instead of looking for this exact file, we're looking for star.txt, so every text file. And then we're executing a command. We're ls-laing them, so we're actually long listing each of those options. That's going to catch all the options there. And so now, not only did we find the files, we found out where they are. It gives us the full file path. And it also gives us information about the permissions, the owners, the last time they were updated. So very, very helpful command. Shows you, again, there's so much you can do in Linux. There's so many ways to get what you want. The better you know it, the better you'll be. All right, so that's the find command. Now, we're at the fun part. I was trying to get here so we can spend a little bit of time here. We're not gonna, we're only doing 2 things here, but I want to spend a little bit of time because this is, I cannot tell you, every time I get someone who knows a little bit of Linux, this is where they spend most of their time struggling. All right, editing text. Yo, what's up, Ambivalent Bunny? Welcome to the channel. Shout out to, I'm gonna spell this wrong, Ambivalent Alent, I think we rated you, and this is what I struggle with. I can't type. I can't type at all. But shout out to Ambivalent Bunny. I hope you had a great stream tonight. Welcome, Raiders. Come on in. Come on in. We are getting to the editing text portion. This is the last part. I know it says number 2. It's really number 3, I think, for today. But this is the last part that we're learning today is how the heck do I edit text in Vim? What's up, Ambivalent Bunny? How was your stream? What were you all doing on your stream today? I'd love to know. Thanks for gracing us with your presence. Everyone, please give Ambivalent Bunny a follow. I do appreciate it. Regarding the use of wildcard with hidden files, it is shell dependent. Good to know. And it's disabled on BinSH and Bash by default. The easiest way on Bash is to type in, I've done that. Shopped .glob, which will enable showing hidden files, but only for that session. And you can do a copy. Got it. That's helpful. That's very helpful, actually. :Q and open. Let's go. What's up, Anthony Rice Code? Shout out to Anthony Rice Code. You all already know. Give Anthony Rice Code a follow. Amazing people to learn from. Amazing people to hang out with. Thanks for coming through. Was working with GUI for Waddle. Dope. So that's funny. One of the projects that we're going to work on in Camp Code on Mondays is we're going to be building our own Waddle, and it's going to be pretty fun. It's such a good contextual project because people know what it is. People know what Wordle is. And it's also surprising that, like, if you want a bare bones Wordle, we did this with JavaScript not long ago with the in-person class that I was doing. If you want a bare bones Wordle, if you can find some input for some words to check against, it's people were surprised at how little amount of lines of code that you need to actually get it done. I have no idea what Wordle is. You're lying. I don't believe you. I'll never believe you. Come on, it's the worldwide sensation. Now they have Wordle. They have Octordle. Have you all never played Octordle? Okay, you don't want to play 8 Wordles all at once. It's the best. It's so good. Chances are, if I started coding for Wordle, I'd probably write a virus. Understandable. Thanks for letting us know. Times, what was it? The New York Times, please. Slice in the Mind. Don't let Slice in the Mind join your team to do any of your development. Thank you. Yeah, my code was only 142 lines, including colored text. Exactly. It's crazy. Yes, Wordle is the game you guess the words in a couple of different guesses. I spoke so much weed today that my Python looks like Java. That's, first off, Dookie Head Ass, I love your name, 69420. Phenomenal name, not gonna lie, it's impressive. A lot of memeage in there. That does sound like a lot of weed. I hope that means you're having a good Thursday. I hope that sounds like a good Thursday to me. Yeah, that's dope. That looks like Java. As long as it's not Java, that's all that matters. All right, so let's learn about editing text, okay? No VS Code over here. VS Code's dope. I'm sorry, the Primogen's gonna get mad at me for saying that. Probably all other the programmers in this section are gonna get mad at me. But VS Code's dope. It is very cool. But we're not gonna be using VS Code over here because the CLI is a text-only interface and VS Code is a GUI. It's a graphical user interface. So we need to figure out how the heck are we gonna edit text? How can we do it without something like VS Code? Well, obviously Vim for all the Vim users, but let's start with Nano. Let's start with Nano, okay? Let's start with it. It's important that we get started with something accessible, okay? Nano is a text editor that is available from the command line. And it's good because it is installed on many Linux distributions by default. Not all of them, but most of them, it'll be installed by default, so it'll be accessible to you on pretty much any server or something that you get onto. And people love it because it is simple. And it is simple in comparison to other options that we are also going to learn about tonight. But Nano is what we're going to use to do some text editing and some text modifications. So let's go ahead and let's do just that. All right, so we're gonna go back into our home directory, and in here we have red, yellow, green directories. Let's go into green because I think there's a file in here, or any file. It really doesn't matter where you go because I'm just going to mess around with an empty file. You can make a new file if you want. I am going to modify this rename. I spelled it wrong, but renames copy.txt. It's empty. Excuse me. I'm going to edit it, and I'm going to put some text in here using the Nano text editor. And so we'll look at the man page first. Nano's another editor inspired by Pico. Wow. I completely forgot about Pico. I really forgot about Pico. I'll be lurking. Absolutely go eat 100%. I completely understand the post stream hungers. Thanks so much for the raid. Thanks for coming through. Appreciate it. College classes, we had a quiz on a list class about moving around in Vim. Absolutely. Vim Adventure I put as available in the Google Classroom, or you can just go there to the website if you want to try it out. It's pretty dope. I screwed up and watched some beer videos on IG. I'm hungry too. Go get some food. Go eat. Next iteration of the course will have Pico at first now. It will not. I forgot Pico existed. That's funny because I learned about Pico before Nano. And so that makes sense because Nano was inspired by Pico. But yeah, it's a small friendly editor. And again, it's admired for its simplicity. The way that we use it is simply to type in Nano and it drops us into a text editor. But this interface can be confusing for people who have never used it before. Now that we're in it, take a look at it. Up here up top is going to be where we type in what we need. So boop, 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 enter. Boop, 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 enter. Boop, 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 boop. Type in so fast, enter. Boop, boop. All right. We type really fast. Great. That is how we do that. Everything down here are other options that you can do. The little, so here we go. Look at how immediately applicable this was. Immediately applicable. So the caret, or rather the freestanding, hold on. I'm gonna remember what it was. The freestanding, I don't even remember what it's called. You gotta help me out because I already forgot. I know freestanding was in there. It was the circumflex. So the way that you use these down here is with the control character. So the caret or the freestanding circumflex, it references the control key. That's what that is. Okay. So if you want help, you do Control G, and that will give me some help. And if I want to close this or refresh or do one of these go previous line or something, I do Control and that character. So Control X is how I get out of that. So if I want to get out of this file, I hit Control X. Now, this says, when I do, it says save modified buffer. So now they're using some Linux terms you may not have heard before. And this is just asking me if I would like to save this file. It says, hey, you made some changes. Do you want to save this file? So I can hit Y for yes. And it says, hey, you didn't open up a file. You just started typing. What do you want the name of the file to be? So I could type in gibberish.txt, whatever I want it to be. And once I'm done, enter. And we have now modified our first file. And when I do ls, look at this. Gibberish.txt is saved. If I want to modify a file that already exists, you type in nano and the name of the file that you want to modify. So nano, then type in the name of the file that you would like to make modifications to and hit enter. And it will open up that file right here in the nano text editor. So just like double clicking on a file to open up a VS Code. And then in here, I can use my arrow keys and I can go to where I want and I can say, I will now modify this file. Can't spell. So that this file will be the best file it will ever. Wow, I got ever real wrong B. All right, so made some modifications, all good. If I go to exit again, so control, the way that I save it, you can see there's no save that's presented to me. The way that you save it is you attempt to exit. It says, hey, you made some modifications. I say, yes, I would like to save it with the Y key. The name of the file is actually already filled in because I'm actually modifying an existing file. I can change this. I can change this to a different name and it'll save it to a new file. So that's how you do that. And then enter and it works. Control S still, are you playing with me? Hold on. It still works. It's still Control S. Oh. Whoa. Mind blown. What? Okay. Here's my problem. Anyone who's not new, anyone who's watched this before, who's watched any of the Linux portions before, every time, how come no one's told me that? How come no one's ever told me that? How come you all have left me in the dark? Now, doesn't really matter because I don't use Nano. But how come I use Nano for years? I use Nano the beginning of my career. I refused to use Vim. The first 2.5 years of my career, I used Nano. Has that always been a thing? Is it like, this is crazy. So, okay, that's good to know. Okay. This is not, I'm not, see, this is, you know who I blame? I actually still talk to a lot of the people that were at the very first job that I was ever at, where I learned how to do a lot of this stuff, where I was taught Linux. I'm not joking. I'm going to start tagging people and messaging people on Facebook because they didn't teach me these things. They didn't teach these things to me, and I thought what they told me was the right answer, and Control S is the right answer. Okay, that's the right answer. Not all this Control X. Yes, I would like to save stuff. It's what? Next thing you're gonna tell me is that works in Vim. That's what you're gonna tell me next. Control S. That's crazy. That's crazy. How come that's not listed right here? Maybe if I actually looked at the help. Maybe. Oh, it's there. Like, it's right there. Okay. First off, I'm also not gonna lie to you. When I just went to go do the search, I had no idea if search was actually gonna work using the slash because I don't use Nano. But there we go. That's cool. So Nano is gonna be your easier way of doing that. So Control S, like you're used to, is super duper helpful. That helps you save it. So open up a file, just start typing away. You don't gotta do nothing special. Type what you want. Hit Control S to save. Control X to exit. Slice in the Mind just saved us 20 minutes of our lives because that's great. All right. That's Nano. It will take you time to get good at Nano. I highly recommend that you attempt to open up some files, you attempt to create some new files, and just get some of the muscle memory down of the keys that you're going to use. Be able to open it, be able to start typing, be able to exit. Start there, and then spend some time later learning the extras of the text editor. All you need to do, for years, like I said, all I needed to do was open up a file, modify a bit of text, and save it and exit. That will help. Nano is literally everyone's first text editor. Absolutely. Well, I wish someone would have told me it aligned with something I used. It didn't seem like it aligned at all because, come on, I mean, why didn't they just put control? Instead, they put the freaking freestanding circumflex. I didn't even know what that meant for like days. So I was like, what is this caret? And why can't, when I press X, why is it not doing anything? I remember when I was learning Linux and it both blew my mind and was like the dumbest thing at the same time. I was like, why can't it just be this? Like, and that's how I felt the whole time. Every time someone taught me something new, I was like, no, it should just be this. Like, this would make it easier. I knew because I accidentally hit Control S and bash. Yeah, that is helpful. That's helpful. And now I'm going to start pushing people towards Nano more. I'm gonna look at Nano a little bit more. I usually highly encourage everybody who learns Vim, at least enough to modify some text. But if they're going to be working on servers, but it's all good. All right, so let's get to the Vim portion so we can learn a little bit and get out of here. Vim is very, it stands for very informal. Nah, okay, it's Vim. I actually don't know what Vim stands for. Well, I do know what Vim stands for. I don't know what VI stands for. But what is VI and Vim? Okay, so it is a modal text editor. All right, modal. This means that it has modes. It's got different modes that you must enter to do specific things. So it's a text editor that requires your knowledge and use of different modes to do what you need to do. It has a very steep learning curve and it scares people away. But it is very feature rich, and it is a phenomenal tool for editing text. It really, really is. It has a big, vast plugin ecosystem. So there are lots of plugins that extend the functionality that it has, similar to VS Code. And it's very fast. It's super duper fast. Okay. But yes, if you would like to learn, so this is not a lie. Time Reveal is saying perfect thing. We've rated the Primogen before. If you want to learn, if you really want to dive into what Vim is, I spent time doing this and my Vim skills have shot way up from watching the Primogen. Really mean this. He's a Vim master. We've rated TJ DeVries. We rated Tej before. He's a contributor to NeoVim. So like all these people, Bash Bunny, all these are amazing Vim users. I'm a lowly Vim user in comparison to all these people. I actually use Vim in conjunction with VS Code. I use VS Code for some things that I'm just not good at Vim yet. But that's mostly because I'm a bad typist. But yes, Vim is VI improved. Why is so what's V imitation? That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't V imitate. I don't like it. I'm not a fan. I knew Vim was V improved, but yeah. So people use it because this VI will be available on any server, any system you touch. VI will be available. Vim might be available, but VI will be there. And again, Vim is VI improved, so it's VI with some extra features and things that you can do. So modal text editor, very steep learning curve. We're going to start that learning curve right now. What are the modes? Okay. Yeah, Vim mode and VS Code. I do like Vim mode and VS Code, but I like to use Vim alone as well. Yes, Code Dot and WSL definitely godsend. So what are the modes? When we talk about a modal text editor, what are those modes? Normal mode, okay? This is what you'll be dropped into when you first get into the to the editor. It's the default mode. This is how you navigate files. This is how you move your cursor around. It is in normal mode. You have to be in normal mode. Well, you don't have to be in normal mode, but normal mode is used for navigation. Pressing the escape key always brings you back to this mode. This is one of the reasons, if you all were wondering why when Apple made the touch bar, and originally the touch bar had a capacitive escape key, and everyone was like, oh no, you gotta bring it back, can't believe you did that, you made too many changes at once. The reason why they brought the escape key only back to a physical key, even though they kept the touch bar for a while, was because this was a big reason. Vim was a big reason. People who use Vim, people who use programs that use Vim key bindings, the escape key was pretty darn important for a lot of things, and so it's necessary. So escape always, it brings you back to normal mode. Insert mode. This is the mode you must be in to do any typing. So to start typing, you've got to go into insert mode. Command mode is where you can enter in specific Vim commands, and replace mode is basically insert mode, but it starts replacing where your text actually is. So this is like the insert. This is like the insert key on your keyboard when you press that an extra time and all your stuff starts to get overwritten. This is like that. So those are the 4 modes that we're going to be using. Vim navigation. So Vim, you cannot use your mouse. This is command line. It is keyboard only. So all of your navigation, your files and directories and all that stuff is going to be with your keyboard. So to move your cursor up, down, left, and right, you can use your arrow keys, yes. But Vim is designed to make your text editing as quick as possible. So you kind of want to keep your fingers on the keys that matter. So to move up, you're gonna use the J key, down the K key, left the H key, L to go, right the L key, okay? Or you can use your arrow keys, but this is part of the learning curve. Sounds crazy, right? Yes, disable the arrows for the first few weeks. I used the arrow keys for the first like 2 years that I worked with Vim, and I can't tell you how much better it is now that I use JK, H, and L. But this is how you start to move around. This is confusing. I've included in the class, in the Google Classroom, a link to Vim Adventures, which will help you understand these concepts and help you submit some of these concepts as well. But this is how you move your cursor around. Key Vim commands. This is one of the most searched things on Stack Overflow. People search on the internet. How in the world do I save? How do I quit Vim? How do I get out of Vim? Well, you have to go into command mode to start doing these things. And so colon is how you get into command mode. You hit colon, it takes you into command mode. Then you enter some commands. To save a file, you must first write the file. That's a W. So colon W, enter, and then hit enter. That will write a file. That'll save the file. To quit, you've got to do Q. Colon Q will quit. It will only let you quit if you have not made any changes to the file. If you have made changes to the file, when you do a quit, it'll basically be like, hey, you gotta either save this or force yourself out of it. Exclamation point allows you to forcefully enact the command. So if I want to quit and not without saving, I do colon Q exclamation point and hit enter. That'll say, hey, I don't care that there's changes, I want to quit. And colon WQ is how you save and quit in the same command. There are other ways to get out. I agree. I'm on ZZ and ZQ all day. So let me show you this real quick so we can finish up on Linux permissions and be all done for the day. So same file. I'm going to vim gibberish.txt. I don't even know if Vim's installed. I think it is. And I'm going to hit enter. And take a look at this. This doesn't look, it doesn't look super intimidating because there's really nothing here by default. But if I hit J, you start to see my cursor going down. If I hit K, it's going up. If I hit H, it doesn't do anything because I'm already to the left. And if I hit L, it starts to move to the right. So it's great. That's how I get around there. Okay. The way that I get into different commands, like I said, I'm in different modes. Right now, I am in the normal mode, and escape always brings you back here. If I started typing right now, it's not gonna do anything. That's why JK and L and all that stuff and H and O works. To get into insert mode, you hit the letter I. So I, it takes you to insert mode. If you have a keyboard with the insert button, I think insert button will take you there as well. And now you can see in the bottom left, I'm now in insert mode. Now I can start typing. Blah, 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 blah. Typing more gibberish. Okay, great. Remember, we said that the escape key takes us back to normal mode. So I hit it. You can see it no longer says insert. If I type letters, it's not going to do anything because I'm in normal mode. Great, I'm back in normal mode. The other mode was replace. So look at my cursor. It's up here if you can't see it. I'm gonna do an R to go into replace mode. And now look, as I whoops, this is gonna be insert mode. If I do R and I start typing, it replaces the letter that I'm on. So if I want to change this S to a H, it will do that for me, which is nice. Great. And it takes me, after I replace, it takes me back into to normal mode where I can navigate again. So R, replace, change it, and then it's back into normal mode. So a great way to change a character that you need to change. And then escape back to normal mode. What was the other mode? Command. So if I want to save, colon. You see me type, when I type a colon, it doesn't type it up here because I'm not in insert mode. Okay, so from normal mode, if I hit a colon, it will put me into command mode. It's waiting for a command. If I do W, it's going to write. If I do colon Q, it's going to quit. We can do that in one line. I'm going to make some changes up here. I'm going to do I to get an insert mode. Type random stuff. Escape. Command mode. W to write the file, Q to quit the file. There we go. That might seem super confusing. It is very confusing in the beginning. There are other ways to quit. There are a couple other ways to quit, to save and quit. I'll type some more. Escape. ZZ, capital Z, capital Z. So holding shift and hitting Z twice. This is how I exit every single time. I do shift ZZ. That's the easy way. There's another easy way. If you type some more, you can do Control X. Or maybe you cannot do Control X. I thought you could do Control X. Someone tell me, what? You can't do Control X? Or is it? Does Control X really not work? What does ZQ do? Z. That's the same thing. It seems like the same thing. All right. I thought you could do Control. Oh, is it capital X? Hold on. Nah, I could have sworn because someone showed me this, and I was like, it blew. I was like, what? Okay, so maybe you can't do Control X, or maybe just capital X. No? I don't know. Exit, not save for ZQ. Oh, exit without saving. Huh. I thought you could do something with Control X, but it's not working here, so I don't know. Yes, ZZ will save and quit, and it looks like ZQ will not. It'll quit without saving. So ZZ saves and quits. ZQ does not save and quits. So it forces a quit. But yeah, I do shift ZZ every time. That's my way out habitually. I never do :WQ. Yes, Command X. Thank you. Command X. So I was thinking Control because Command's close to Control, but if I make some changes, type some stuff, and I do Escape, Command, enter in Command X. There we go. Thank you. Appreciate that. Mosito, thank you so much. You forget stuff. Like I said, you will forget a lot of these things. You can see how much it can be to remember. Sometimes you forget some of those things. It's great. But yeah, Vim just has a lot of shortcuts. It's got a lot of keyboard shortcuts. It's got a lot of customizability. So it allows you to do things really easy on the fly. It allows you to, let's say I want to take all this. So let's say I want to copy all of this. I can highlight this line, highlight everything, yank it, paste. Oh, that's just the first line. Hold on. V, G, yank it, paste it all, and it's just pasting more lines inside. So now this document's gigantic now because I'm just pasting. You can't really tell that I'm doing it, but it's super duper long now. And you can do Control. Capital G to get to the bottom of the file. You can do :1 to get to the top of the file. There's some cool things. If I want to get over, let's say I want to get over to this K, you can hit Control A to get to the end of the line. You can do, let's go back to the beginning. I can do like FD to move over to all the iterations of the Ds here. There's so many ways to do some cool stuff with it. What's up, Mr. Rugi? Good to see you. There's so many different ways to use it. Again, it takes time. It takes energy. I told you the learning curve is very steep, but just want you to really know how to open it with the Vim keyword. The way that you can start to type is that there are modes, and you have to go to insert mode, type what you need, hit escape to get back to your normal mode, and then you can exit with one of the ways I told you to exit: :WQ will save and quit, or you can do shift ZZ or something like that. But the goal is just to learn how to open up a file, make some changes to the text, and exit. Start there, get comfortable doing that, and then you can start to pick up all of the things that make Vim the amazing tool that it is. But again, very steep learning curve. If you're not a good typist, the reason why I suck at it is because I'm not a good typist. But I started learning how to type better so that I could use Vim better, and it has been working well. Okay, that is modifying text. Like I said, go into the Google Classroom. There's a Vim adventure that'll help you do that a little bit better. Dive into Nano, look at it a little bit. Permissions. We got to talk about permissions. Very, very important. We can get through this very quickly. I thought, for some reason, we already did this, but we need to get through this because this is very, very important. Last piece, home stretch. We're in the home stretch right now. The perms. Permissions. Permissions in Linux control what and who has access to files, directories, and processes. as well as what actions they can perform with them. So yeah, it's just, yes, I do mean Chmod 777. This means nothing to me since I can't follow the course. That's sad, but appreciate all the hard work. Education is a great equalizer. Absolutely, I appreciate that. Have a great night. It's good to see you coming through. Been a while. Hope you're doing well. All right. So permissions, setting permissions for files. Who can use what? Linux is pretty simple. 3 permissions. It's only got 3 permissions here. It's got the read permission, R. So read, this allows for a file to be looked at but not edited. So I can see it, I can read it, but I can't modify it. Or execute it, but I can't modify it. Write, the write permission, or W. This allows the file to be written but not read. So I can write to it, but I can't read it. That's super weird when you think about it, but I can make changes to a file. If I have write permissions, I can make changes to a file, but I cannot read it. Execute says the file can be run. I can execute this file, okay? So this is for executables, scripts, which you make executable, but those are files that can be run. So the X means it can now be run. So read allows you to read a file, write allows you to write to a file, and X allows you to execute a file, but there aren't any like bundled in consequences here. So there's not like, if I get write, I also get read, or if I get execute, I also get read and write. Not quite. You can, each of them is independent of each other, and you can get them or give them all independently. So read, write, execute. RWX. I know the X is, the wild card there because it should be E, but X makes, it makes more sense. So how do I see a file's permissions? We already learned this. To do so, you must do a long listing, so ls-l, and it will give you those permissions. So let's go back to it and let's take a look at what we have here. Whoa. Let's get out of here. Let's clear it. Doesn't matter where you are on the system. You don't have to be in the same place as me. ls-l, look at this. We have some permissions here with R's and W's right here. So read, write, read, write, read, write, read. What the heck? Like, why are there so many R's? Like, why are there so many if it only has 3 permissions? Well, let's learn. One, who do the permissions apply to? This is why there are so many of them. Permissions apply to users. There will be a user that owns each file, and then there will be a group that owns each file that's associated to each file or directory. So this is who they apply to. The way that you can find that out, the way that you can find out who the user and the group is right next to it. So here are the actual permissions themselves. This is who the permissions apply to. The first one, okay? First one is, again, we already talked about this, but this is the user that this applies to. This is the group that this applies to, all right? That the permissions that are over here. So these permissions that are over to the left are what apply to those on the right. How do they apply? Well, first, let's try this again. There are 3 octets here. Let me click this. Let's click this again. There are 3 octets. There are, ignore the first line. There's a line over here. You can ignore the first line, but there are 3 sets of dashes here. There are 3 sets of dashes here. And there are 3 sets of dashes here. And each one of those is representing a set of permissions. So the first 3, there can be read in the first spot, write, execute. The second spot can be read, write, execute. And the third spot can be read, write, execute. So there are 9 spots total. Okay, so in this case, what we have is RW dash, R dash dash, and we have R dash dash. Cool. Now, here's what this means. This means that if there's a dash, that means they don't have that permission, and the RW and X are always in the same spot. But this first 3, the first 3 options here, they apply to the user that owns the file. Okay, these are the permissions for the user that owns a file. So in this case, the root user can read the file and they can write to the file. They cannot execute the file. All right, the second, so first, second, and third, the second set of permissions applies to the group. So anyone in this group, in the root group, can read the file, but cannot write to the file and cannot execute the file. This last set is for everyone else. So if you're not the owner and you're not in a group, this is what you can do. So everyone else can read the file. They cannot write to the file. They cannot execute on the file. Okay? And so this is how Linux permissions are done. The first three are for the user that owns it. The second three are the permissions for the group. The last three are the permissions for everyone else or other. Yes, other works as well. Only the user can make changes to your .texts. No. Oh, well, so yes, correct. In this case, ScanVR is actually is absolutely correct. Only the user who owns it can make changes to all these text files right now. The reason being is because the user is the only one who has write permissions. No one else has write permissions, so no one else who's not the user can make changes to these files right here. That's a very good, thanks for throwing that out there. That's 100% true. All right, so how do we set these? How do we understand these? This is the last part, but this is the hardest part to understand and the part that takes the most practice. The way that we express these is with numbers, okay? We express these with numbers. The way that, so R reads are worth the value of 4, okay? Writes are worth the value of 2. X's are worth the value of 1. These numbers are made accordingly because if you start to add them up, there's no combinations that give you duplicate numbers. So if we have all 3, that's worth 7. If you add them all up, they are 7. 4 plus 2 plus 1 is 7. If you just have read and write, it's 6. If you have read and execute, it's 5. If you have write and execute, it's 3. So on. There's no combination that can produce a duplicate number. So we can specify each of those set of 3. We can specify the permissions, a set of permissions with a singular number. So let's go look back at what we have over here. This set for the user, this can be referenced as what would it go? As a read. So reads are equal to 4 plus a write. Writes are equal to 2. So this first 3 can be referenced by the number 6. The second 3 reads are worth 4, and then whenever you don't have something there, you add 0. So 4 for the second set and 4 for the last set. Okay. So this permission right here, RWRR, can be represented by the permissions 6, 4, 4. All right, let's actually find a different place on the computer that has stuff with different permissions. Let's go back into here. All right, cool. So now we have take a look at this bash history file. Look at that. That has actually, let's look at like this blue directory that we created. The blue directory has an R, W, and an X. So if you add them all up, that's 4 plus 2. It's 4 plus 2 plus 1. So the first item is 6. Then we have an R, a 0, and an X. So R is worth 4 plus 0 plus 1. X's are worth 1. So we have 5. And the same thing for other. We have 4 plus 0 plus 1, which is 5. So this directory's permissions can be represented as 6, 5, 5. This directory's permissions up here can be represented as 5 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1, which is 7, and then a bunch of zeros. So this one right here can be represented as 7, 0, 0. All right. So these numbers matter. Why do these numbers matter? Because this is what you're gonna use to actually change them. So let's take our yellow directory. The command that we're gonna use to change it, and I don't think I put it in here. Oh yeah, they're both here. These are the last two. We're gonna use the chmod command to change it. Okay, chmod will allow us to change it. So, oh yeah, that was 755. You're right. I put 655. I don't know why. You're correct. It is 755. For these directories, that's 755. The chmod command is for change mode. Chmod. Change file mode bits. Yes, same. I leave math for the computers. But chmod is going to be the command that we use. How do we do this? Well, what you do is you do chmod. So I'm going to change the permissions of this yellow directory. I'm going to say chmod, and then I give it the number value that I want. So let's say I want the owner to be able to do everything. So I want the owner to do everything. I want the owner to have read, write, and execute. Let's say I want the group to only have execute for some reason. So I want them to have dash dash X, and I want everyone else, the other, to only have read. So I want them to have R dash dash. The way that I can represent this is if I want to be able to turn this line into what we have up here, I need to make this a 7. Then I need to make this a 0, 0, 1. So I need to make this a 1. And I need to make this a 4. So 4, 0, 0. So I'm going to do chmod. I'll leave that there so you can see it still. Nope. 714 is what we said. Chmod 714. And then I'm going to type in the file or directory that I want to actually change the permissions for. So take a look at the permissions right now. I'm going to change the permissions with this, and I'm going to hit enter. And now if I do an ls-l again, notice how they changed. Rewrite, execute, only read. All right. So if I want to change it now, if I want everyone to have access, if I want everyone to read, to be able to read, write, and execute, that means I need to chmod it to 777. This will allow all three of the options to have read, write, and execute. And usually when you do this, it will highlight it for you to make it very clear about what's going on there, for you to be able to do that. Because it's not, you should almost never do the 777 thing. And yeah, there aren't many scenarios in which you would want to do this for security reasons. This means everybody can do anything they want with that file. So cool. So I've given you some ways to practice those numbers. But when you see chmod, when you see those numbers, that is how you express them. So practice like changing some directories around and looking, and you don't need to change the permission of the directories, but see if you can add up the numbers to see if you can get the proper thing. Normally, kind of the standardized way, I think, for accessing files, at least for like web stuff, I think. What is it? I think directories are 644 and directories are 755 and files are 644. I think is like normal, but I don't know. Yes, no, we are going to talk about we are going to talk about the get ACL and we're gonna, all the FACL stuff and all the ACL rules, and we will be talking about those when we get to the security portion of this. We're definitely going to dive into it. There's a lot that goes into permissions, and we're going to talk into some of that as we get a little bit farther along. Yeah, so Chmod will do that, and then if you can actually change the owner of a file. So let's harken back. Let's harken back to what we learned about creating a user. I'm going to create a user. Okay, so I'm going to do user add mastermind 2. So that also added a group. Now, if I want to change the user who owns this, the user in the group, the command that you use to do that is chown for change owner. Okay, chown. This will change the owner of the file. Okay, so I'm gonna do chown, and if I want mastermind 2 to own it, I'll do mastermind 2. This is the user. This will, like, I can just do this, chown mastermind 2 and the name of the file. I can also specify a new group if I want. If I also want a mastermind 2 group to own it, or a different group, you do colon and the group name, and then the file or directory you want to change that to. And when you do it, and I look at it again, look at that. Look who is the owner now. Now, I'm the root user, so it doesn't really matter. I would be able to kind of do whatever anyway, but that does change who owns it, and these permissions now affect different users on the system. I believe the technical term is pwned. I agree. Bath, it's completely okay if you're lost. 100%. Like I said, part of all this is being okay being lost, and we are moving pretty fast because I'm trying to get done, so we're moving pretty quickly. What I would advise is the Linux permission stuff is surprise. So I went through it quickly, but the concept is surprisingly simple. What I want you to do is to immediately, before you forget it after this, go to Google, type in Linux permissions, or rewatch this section of this video and slow it down a little bit. All there are is 9 slots that have a value with letters that have a value, and you can add them up to be able to express what the permissions are of a file. So remember, there are nine dashes. They're really 10 dashes. If you can see, there are actually 10 dashes, and there's a D at the front. That these are telling you that these are directories. If you didn't know that, yeah, and you can actually use 4-digit permissions if you want. So you might see that sometimes. You might see 04000755. That has to do with files versus directories as well. But don't worry about that right now. That makes it confusing. But just know, if you do a long listing, this shows the permissions. The first 3, it's RWX 3 times in a row. So they'll always be in this order. It'll always be RWX, 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 RWX. And what it does is it shows the permissions of the owner. The first 3 are the permissions of the owner of the file. So they can read, they can write, and they can execute it. The group, they can read and they can execute, but not write. They cannot write to this directory. And the everyone else or the other can read and execute. So a little bit, it can be confusing when you're first seeing it. 100%, I get it. But take it back, spend a little time with it, slow it down, see if you can get it. Only thing I don't understand is how you can write Linux command in Windows. Yes, that's a whole separate thing. Linux. So if you're saying that because you think I'm in PowerShell, that is not true. Right now I'm actually logged into a Linode. I'm SSH'd into a Linode instance, and I did it through PowerShell. I SSH'd from PowerShell to a Linode instance. But you can use the Windows subsystem for Linux. So look that up. If you're on Windows, look up the Windows subsystem for Linux. It's dope. It's real Linux. It's a real Linux kernel inside of Windows. That is what I have right here. And you can mess around and do all the things that you need to do. In this case, though, I'm logged into a Linode server. I'm remote logged into it. All right, cool. That's all of the stuff. So, tangible takeaways for today. Lots of information today, but the tangible takeaways, excuse me. 1, Linux. You're managing users. There are 2 types of users. There's normal users, and then there's the root user or super user. You can create users with the user add or add user command, and those work differently. So mess around with them, see if you can play around with them and see how they're different. See which one you prefer. You can delete user with the del user key or user del. I think both of those work as well. Command, so you can do that as well. And you can actually modify a user with the user mod command, and you can use that to add them to groups, take them out of groups. There's a couple different things. You can change attributes about the user. If you want to see users, you can look in the Etsy password file. So Etsy password file will give you information. It'll give you information about the users that are on the system, including their home directory and their login shell. You can also find out information about groups. Remember, the groups can be found in Etsy group, and you can create groups using the group add command, and you can delete them using the group del command if you'd like. And again, you can create when you create a user, it creates a group as well with that user same name. You can also create groups outside of that and add users to those groups with the user mod command. We also learned about file operations. So we learned how to manage files on a Linux system. Everything on Linux is a file. We already knew how to make directories. So with the mkdir command, then you can make empty files with the touch command. Then we learned that you can move them around using the mv command, move them from from a source location to a destination. And they're gone from that source location. You can also copy the file, which allows you to make a copy of it to a new location. And that you can also do the same thing with directories, but you must do so recursively by adding the -r command. We also learned that touch on a file that already exists will update the last modified timestamp for that as well. Then we learned we can modify files right in our terminal. We have text editors available to us right in the console. We learned about Nano. We learned a lot about Nano, specifically that you can open it up with the keyword Nano or with the command Nano, executes the program. We can type what we need, and we can save our file with Control S, the same way we're used to in Windows. If we're working with Microsoft Word or something or VS Code, Control S will save it. Or we can follow the prompts at the bottom to exit first, and then it'll prompt us to save. The way that we do that is all of the prompts at the bottom are using the caret or the freestanding. I already forgot it again. I'm gonna remember. Hold on. Don't tell me yet. The caret character or the freestanding circumfograph. No, what is it? I lost it already. I'm close. I know I'm close. Circumflex, the freestanding circumflex. If no one knows what I'm talking about, today we learned that the caret character is also called a freestanding circumflex. So yes, but you can also hit Control S to save there as well to get out of there. Nano is probably the easiest text editor to use in Linux. So start there, start learning how to do stuff with that. Mess around with it, do a little bit of research on Nano. We also learned about the modal text editor Vim. Vim being a modal text editor with a high learning curve that allows you to edit text quickly if you take the time to learn all of its stuff. It's very extensible. There's a lot to do in there. So we learned about that and the modes and all that. So test that out. Like I said, Vim Adventure is available inside of Google Classroom, and Vim Adventure is dope. It's a game that will take you through, using Vim commands to do the things that you want to do. Check that out. And then we also learned about permissions. Linux permissions, that there's a user and there's a group, and you can see Linux permissions with a long listing. So adding a -L to the ls command. We saw that permissions are all the little dashes that are over to the left, as well as the user and the group that exists there. So the first name is the user, the second name is the group, and that the permissions over to the left apply to the user, then the group, then to everyone else. That the three permissions are read, write, and execute, and that they have number values. Read is worth 4, write is worth 2, execute is worth 1, and we can add those three things together to represent a set of Linux permissions for a given person, whether it be the user, the group, or everyone else, if we want to do that. All right. That was a lot. It took a little bit longer, or a lot longer than I thought it would take. Feel free to watch again. Again, feel free to Google around for things that we talked about that we didn't spend much time on. Dive into it, research it a little bit. If permissions don't make sense, which they probably don't, because we didn't spend much time on it at all and didn't do a lot of practice, look around, take Google around, ask some questions. It's a concept that I'm confident you'll be able to wrap your head around, but it's pretty important. It'll get more important as we do more file operation stuff. I'll show you what will happen if you're not allowed to modify something. I'll show you exactly what will happen if you're not allowed to do it, and why those permissions do matter. Yeah, that's it. A lot. So we are back next week. If you're interested in Camp Code, come on Monday. We're going to be doing we're learning Go and Camp Code, but we'll be talking about displaying output, and we'll be diving into strings on Monday. Camp Cloud is on Tuesday. We'll be doing an EC2 instance lab. We'll be doing 2 labs. We're going to do 3. I think we're going to wrap 2 into 1. So we'll be doing 2 labs. The first one will probably take about an hour and a half, and then the second one will probably take about 45 minutes, 45 minutes. So check that out. And then what are we doing here next Thursday? Next Thursday for this, we will be doing week 4 package management. Yeah. So we'll spend a little bit more time on editing text. There's some other things that I want to teach you about editing text and getting better at editing text. Then we will talk about package management and installing software from source. Yeah, Can't Crush. We are learning Go in that class. We're learning Go in that class. And yeah, you can go to class.mastermind.io to kind of follow some of this stuff. The Monday and Tuesday class are base camps. So yeah, Camp Code is a curriculum here, and we'll be learning, displaying output, diving into more data types, learn about constants, we'll learn about variables, primitive data types, the Go documentation. We'll be learning a whole lot on Monday if you want to come through. And let's make sure we know what we're doing in Camp Cloud. I'm pretty sure we are doing what I said, which was the EC2. Yeah, EC2 labs. Expanding EBS volumes, recovering instances, and deploying websites with Nginx. This will also be deploying website to EC2 with Nginx. This will also be a load balancer demo. So you'll learn a little bit about load balancers here, even though we're going to spend time later. This will be your intro to them as well. Remembering to check out BAT as an awesome alternative to cat. Yeah, hold on. Let me see. BAT Linux command. Let's see. A cat clone with syntax highlighting. Let's go. I'm doing this right now. Hold on. Before we leave, I want to see this. With syntax highlighting, let's do it right here. And sudo apt install bat. I want to see it. I like syntax highlighting. Syntax highlighting is the best thing that ever happened to anybody. Is this a Notion site? Yes, it is a Notion site, because I'm a terrible I'm really bad at web development. I'm not really bad at web development. I'm a lazy web developer. So yes, it is a Notion site. And thank you. It's a little bit, it has its quirks. Like some of the buttons, they look like buttons, but they only click in a very specific place. And that has to do with, that's the Notion problem. So there's some issues. I'm building a normal site right now. It's just taking me a little bit longer than I wanted to take. So you're telling me now, if I, let me see something I can actually cat out and it'll be fine. Let's stream example. No, this is just directories. That was dumb. I should have known that. What's in test.txt? Bat test.txt. What? I installed bat. Why is it not working? I installed bat. Is it a different is it batch? What is that? Oh yeah. I can do that. That makes a lot of sense actually. See, teaching me my the things I should know. Bacula console QT, but it installed back. What did it install? What? The following package was automatically installed and is no longer required. Lib whoop the plugin. Okay, let me just do GitHub. I gotta see this. I gotta see this. Can I just install this from source? That would be nice. Curl bad. Let me see. Multiple options. How do you have multiple options for Source? Yeah, so you can't do it in Hyper. I am using Windows Terminal. This is Windows Terminal, so you can only get it on Windows. It is a very good app, and you can get it from the store. The command is batcat. Oh, that's even better. Hold up, I'm excited about that. But you can get it from the Windows Store. It's just type in terminal in the Windows Store, and you can use any of these things, which is nice. And you can add more and more and more, which is nice. Tell me it's Batcat. Oh baby, let's go. Today has been great. The stuff that y'all have told me today is amazing. Let me do. Man, I just don't have anything on this computer. Let me do my profile. Let me do Batcat on .profile. Yes, this is amazing. Wow, it's got line numbers and everything. This is a must-have tool. This is what I'm under. To me, this is equally as profound as the Control S in Nano. Like, I guess I don't understand how this seems like such a big thing that like I don't know how I haven't come across this. Like, how is this the first time I've come across this? This is like, so people who are just learning Linux, I can't wait until you realize how why this is good. Cat doesn't do anything for you. This keeps the it gives you line numbers, it keeps the spacing stuff like proper, and Cat does that as well. But like, you can't, like, this is excellent. I genuinely am going to install this everywhere now. Thank you. And if you all have any other tools, like maybe we need to make like a tools channel in the Discord. Like, this is so helpful. This is why you talk to people. This is why have some conversations. This is why you try some stuff out. You know, mess around, explore a little bit. You find stuff like this that makes your life easier. I am 100% about to install this on every computer, and now I'm about to tweet it out to everybody. And thank you for throwing that out there, because that was helpful. And thank you so much, Morpheus Zero, for letting me know that the command was Batcat. I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. Yeah, alias cat to Batcat makes a lot of sense. Makes it super easy. That's great. Because man, y'all me hype. Every time we do this, also because I don't get to deal with, like, I spend a lot of time in the command. I spend all day in the console, but like I'm using specific console tooling, and like I'm doing like AWS stuff and all that stuff. So like this is helpful. I'm gonna do this. I cat files all the time. I use cat way more than I should. I probably should start using less more, but now I will use cat even more. But thank you. We're gonna go raid somebody because I need to get home. Muse Online, perfect. We're gonna go raid Mitru. She's amazing. She's dope. You can learn a lot from her. She's actually she's building an she's been doing it for a long time. She's building an OnlyFans competitor. You know, you might not care about that, but she is building a genuine, real product, which is pretty dope. So watching her go through the process, it's also just super fun to stream. She's pretty smart. I forgot where she works now, but she's dope. She's a good resource. So we're gonna head over and say hello to her. But peace out, everybody. Let me get the raid going. Let's go, Mew. True. I don't think we've headed over there yet. So cool. All right, everyone. Thanks for coming through. I will see you all next week. I'm gonna go have some fun. If you're on the East Coast, it's gonna be pretty hot. Watch yourselves. Stay safe out there. Peace out.